Live from Deathray Studios in the sunny West Valley of Phoenix, it's Late Night with the Davey. Appearing on tonight's show, professional YouTube content creator and PhD in pissing off the trolls on Twitter, Cody Leach. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Davey Deathray. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here. How ya all doing today? We're more than halfway through the week, folks, so that is great news. Did you guys have an awesome weekend? A good start to the week? Oh, I sure have, and I am super pumped for this show. I mean, we're celebrating 15 years of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. We've had a really great run up to this 16th episode of Late Night with the Davey, and we got a heavy hitter here tonight, so I'm pretty pumped. We're going to be chatting with Cody Leach, who I had the great fortune of meeting this past weekend. There was a convention out in Mesa, which is about an hour away. I didn't think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to just be stuck here on the other side of town, shooting Tales from the Crypt reviews or whatever the heck I was going to be doing, hanging out with my cats. And then Cecil from the Horror Show channel was like, hey, can you help me out at Gathering of the Ghouls? And I was like, oh, shit, that sounds like fun. Popped on over, got to kick it with those guys for a bit. And yeah, got to, for one of the first times ever, hang out with one of the guests here before they appeared on the show, which was really cool because you guys know a lot of times I go into this sort of blind and just first time talking to the person ever. So yeah, really cool to get to chat with Cody, get to know him a little bit, and I'm looking forward to our discussion here. So yeah, let's say what's up to everybody in the chat. We had some early birds here. Necro Mechanimal, thank you so much for hanging out, Necro, and of course putting together your really cool thumbnails that you do for us here on the channel. Very humbling and awesome and really sweet of you to put those together. They crack me up every single time, so I get a good kick out of it every single time. And then we got Big Rod, one of our great channel members here. How you doing, Big Rod? Eli Cortez. Eli is, man, not only is Eli a channel member, he keeps on sending me all this awesome shit. It started out with the Halloween End Steelbook and the first 4 seasons of Tales from the Crypt. And then what? Halloween 2 on Steelbook, Piranha on Steelbook, a double pack of Demons 1 and 2, friggin' Pumpkinhead on Steelbook. And now I guess I've got some more stuff coming, as well as, and man, I forgot to bring it in here, Eli. I'm so sorry, but Eli gifted me a copy of John Carpenter's new record, Lost Themes 4 Noir, on vinyl. So now my John Carpenter collection is complete. And sounds friggin' great on vinyl, of course. And I love John Carpenter's music, so thank you so much, Eli. And then we've got Trisha McMasters, another great channel member. How you doing, Trisha? Great to see you. We got Sergeant Shitty Pickle. Shit Pickle. How you doing there, Sergeant? Always reminds me of the old school angry video game nerd days, as you guys know. That was like the very first YouTuber I ever really watched. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first YouTuber a lot of people ever watched. Certainly it's a little bit different over there at Cinemassacre now, but man, you can't beat those old school days for sure. We got this guy Davey Deathray, whoever that is. Blu-ray Addict in the chat. What's happening, Blu-ray? We got Vanderhoff. How you doing, Dave? Great to see you. Tyler Adams, Late Night with the Davey. You gotta sing it to Running with the Devil by Van Halen, and it just makes sense. I tell you what. We got the lovely Brooke Scarlett in the chat, another great channel member. How you doing tonight, Brooke? And then we've got one of our mods, Jamie Hart. She used to be the lone mod, but now she's just one of the Death Squad mods. How you doing today, Jamie? Great to see you here. I think I've seen you in a couple chats already today, so it's like we're always hanging out. Oh, and we've got our guest Cody Leach in the chat. What's happening, Cody? What's happening? We got Medley Man. How you doing? Holy moly, baloney, guacamole. It's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Cody Leach. or as I think Fauci calls him, Cody motherfucking Leach. I don't know if that's Fauci's thing or if it's is this just Mandela effect and I'm just imagining that that's what he calls him, but who knows? It sounds great either way. So, can't lose on that one. We got Nicholas McMath in the chat. Holy crap, Nicholas, 18 likes already. Well, there's 21 people watching, so let's get it up to at least 21, and we'll see who files on in. You guys are great for showing up and hanging out. Every time I randomly just get to talk to people about my channel, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Anytime I force the conversation to talk about my channel to a stranger, it's one of the things that I always mention is how cool it is that it seems like every time I go live, I've got you guys here with me. It's really awesome. I say it all the time, but you guys fuel what we do here at the channel. You guys are the reason why I push myself and why this thing is so addicting, because it's like hanging out with friends. So thank you guys so much for coming out and delivering here. We got T. Parker Evans, another channel member. How you doing? And Eli says the next package is on its way. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Eli. Can't wait. Let's see here. We've got, oh my goodness, Dice rolling. How you doing, Dice? You know what? I'm kind of mad at Facebook because I saw that you had a birthday, but I didn't see it until like 3 days after when you were thanking people for wishing you happy birthday. So I'm not going to be that guy that's like 3 days late being like, oh yeah, me too. But happy belated birthday, Dice. I hope it was a great day filled with all sorts of fun stuff and people you love. Oh my gosh, we got a new person in the chat here. We got Dino the Cook 3. Halloween is almost here, boys. Everybody make Dino the Cook 3 feel welcome here in the chat. Yeah, Dino, I hope you enjoy what you see here. And we got Robert the Wolfman. Ow, ow. How you doing, Wolfman? Great to see you. Man, Robert and I, yeah, we were burning the midnight tequila, as Michael Scott would say, the other night with Cody at the convention. It was a lot of fun catching up. Always great to see Robert in the chat, but you know what's better? Seeing him in person. Absolutely. And we got Erica. How you doing, Erica? One of the mods over on Killjoy Jake's channel. Thank you so much for dropping by, Erica. Great to see you. Oh, look at that, 25 likes. Love to see it. Love to see it. We got Rob says, what's up or what up? Hate this movie, but interested to hear a discussion. That's awesome, Rob. I think one of the things that like I've been really into with this 15th anniversary coming up is just, maybe sparking something inside the folks that either don't like the movie or kind of on the fence. Like maybe just give it a chance, give it another shot. Just hear us out on the things that we like or just the positive feelings around the film. One thing I talk about a lot here on the channel, Rob, and I think you're new here, so everybody say what's up to Rob and make him feel welcome in the chat. A big thing here is revisiting art, giving it another chance, and seeing what you think, and just hearing somebody out on that difference of opinion, because you never know. It's like listening to a record or maybe like reading a poem. We all interpret art in a different way, so somebody might say something that sort of unlocks like a different perception. You may go back and maybe this spooky season you're like, why the hell not? I'll watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and you might find something in there that you like. And hey, even if you don't absolutely love it, it's cool just to go back and give it another shot. Absolutely. And we got Dark Room Reviews in the chat. How are you doing, Dark Room? Everybody make Dark Room feel welcome in the chat here. I would imagine we're going to have a handful of new folks jumping in, so really great to see. And one of the perks of bringing other people onto the channel here, not only do we get to talk to them and hopefully, talk to them about something they don't always get to discuss on their own channel, but also, just commingle with other parts of the community and grow our own community. We're always talking about lifting each other up and building that sense of community here. So thank you so much, Dark Room, for checking it out. It says new sub. I'm down with that. All right, and we got Backtrack Cinema. What's happening? We've got Lee B Films. It sucks the Weinstein screwed Rob over during production. Holy crap. Yeah, I listened to the commentary on this movie, and it was pretty depressing. I felt really bad for Rob Zombie. I've never felt bad for Rob Zombie, but I did then. And it looks like we are all caught up on the chat, guys. We are at 15 past the hour, so this is the perfect time to bring in tonight's guest. I guess I could sit here and do this really big, grandiose intro. You guys know our guest, Cody Leach, movie reviewer, horror aficionado. Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. Let me know in the chat. But Cody's a guy I've been watching for a really long time, especially like, it's been years of watching him, but man, a couple years ago, I had this job where I was driving like 45 minutes each way. The only thing that didn't make me just want to like drive off the side of the road in the morning was putting on one of Cody's long form videos and just hearing him, rank a franchise or just talk, because it made me feel like I didn't have to think about the doom of a 10-hour workday in an auto shop and then driving 45 minutes back home. So really excited to have our guest on here tonight. He's been doing this for a long time. He's been doing it as a full-time gig for a few years now. And let's not hold off any longer. Let's get our guy in here, Cody Leach. How you doing, Cody? Thanks for coming by, man.
What's up?
Nothing much, just I guess maybe I'm providing a little bit of that extra energy because I know you got that festival flu going and you're recovering. So
Yeah.
really appreciate you hanging with us and doing the do. And hopefully everyone here in the chat can provide some of that energy as well and get us through.
Yeah, I should still be pretty energetic, but if I'm a little sniffly, that's why, everybody. You get the festival flu, the con crud, whatever you want to call it. You get around thousands of horror fans, you tend to bring back something.
Yeah, it's a sloppy bunch. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool, like the whole convention thing, and I bet everybody, in the chat that's been to a convention can sort of speak to that. Like, to me, I always say, I'm like, this feels like church. It's like everyone coming together, only thinking about the things we have in common, which I think is one of the great things about being, in a community like this, whether it's, going to punk rock or metal shows or going to a horror convention. It's like you just strip away all the bullshit and kick it with some homies for a couple days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a cool community. I mean, whether it's metal or horror, it's kind of the same vibe where it's like the outcasts that all just kind of like welcome each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Doesn't matter who you are. It's like, come on, my people.
A bunch of people that are, anti-establishment, at least in some regard, where it's like, F this. And I mean, speaking of anti-establishment, I mean, the Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, 15 years today. And what a different kind of movie. I skipped this one in the theater because I really wasn't jazzed on the remake. And the first time I saw this was like just sitting at home by myself. And my roommate came in and he was like, "What did you think of that piece of shit?" And I was like, "I think that's the best Halloween movie I've seen in a really long time." So I sort of went in, I didn't even know the noise or hearing that it was bad. I just sort of kind of like Ends. I just went in and watched it and really, really dug it. And you're a fan as well.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. It was I had just started a job, so I had dropped out of college. I was in kind of like this weird, funky spot where I'm like, what do I do? Like, where's life going to take me now? And so I started this little job working at this skating rink here in Savannah and had to wait like 4 weeks to get my first check. I still don't completely understand why that happened, but it was one of the most miserable like onboarding experiences. And so I was broke as you could be. And then finally I got money. And so my way to celebrate it was to take my little brother to the movies, and we saw a double feature. It was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and then The Final Destination, the fourth one. And especially by comparison, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was significantly a better experience. But yeah, I've always liked this one. It's still got some things in it that I'll never defend. I don't really like the white horse stuff. There's still some dialogue choices that kind of lean into that Rob Zombie screenwriting that I'm not a big fan of. But I loved how against the grain this movie was. I loved how different and unique it was. I mean, the way that he's kind of like this presence just stalking the earth until the holiday wills him back to Haddonfield and using the mask for a purpose. Like that's kind of like when he goes into kill mode. I think this is still, even with Halloween Kills, this is still the most brutal of any of the Halloween films. And I really like what they did with, a lot of people don't tend to acknowledge it. This is the only movie in this entire franchise where we actually get to see not only how, but see the reaction of Laurie Strode when she finds out that she's a Myers. We never got that in the original ones. It happened, Loomis talks about it off stage, and then they never tell her, and then in H2O, she just knows. And same thing with, Halloween 2018 and everything. They're not supposed to be brothers and sisters, so they get rid of that. But There's a lot of things about this movie that I feel like it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. I know that there's things about it that people just really bump up against, and it's like it's too different
Mhm.
for me. But in a franchise that, most of the movies are good and solid, but it's like a lot of these horror franchises. It's kind of like eating the same meal every day when you watch through
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
And this one I always look forward to when I'm watching through this series because it's such a different flavor.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that's one of the things whenever it comes to something different in a franchise, I'm like, well, we have like 80% of the franchise that you can just go to if you want that comfort
Yes.
experience, right? So it's like even when people, talking about ends and stuff, I'm like, guys, we have plenty of movies where it's Michael going around stabbing people. So it's like, let's just I sort of believe in meeting the artist kind of halfway sometimes when they take these big swings. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is arguably the best Laurie performance within the entire franchise. I think Scout like takes everything up a notch. Like she's fine in the remake. There's nothing wrong with her performance. It's great. But I always love seeing, an actor or actress, any sort of creative type just sort of stretch themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
And we certainly get that here for sure. Yeah, and I think there is sort of like this punk rock nature, it's just sort of listening to the commentary and hearing Rob be like, well, on the last day of shooting, he was like, it was actually 2 days. We just didn't stop. Because I knew that if we stopped shooting, they would come in and shut us down. So we were shooting and the sun went down and the sun came up and the sun went down. And we just kept on shooting the whole time
Jesus.
because I just wanted to get everything that we could. And yeah, it sounds like, as one of our comments said earlier, that the Weinsteins just really made this one just miserable for Rob. And maybe that's a little bit of that comes out in the final product as well, because it's a grim film for sure. But I am happy that we've got something so different, especially after a remake that's, I mean, definitely more grandiose, but in essence, just kind of a beat for beat after the first act, really.
Yeah, I struggle with the remake. It took a long time for me to really appreciate Rob Zombie's style, more so as a writer than a director. I've always thought he was a strong
Yeah.
director.
Yep.
But I remember when I saw the trailer for the remake, it was like, oh man, that's really cool. And so we went to go see it. It was me and my dad, and he was kind of the same as me. Like we tried to watch Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses, and just wasn't really on our wavelength. I've
Yeah.
since grown to appreciate them a little bit more, but at the time, not for us. And so you go to see this movie and literally opens up with, I'm gonna skull fuck the shit out of you and all this stuff. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh no, this is what it's gonna be. And
Yeah.
so that movie, as it stands now, like I basically think the first third of it is unwatchable. The whole
Yeah.
segment with him as a kid, I get nothing out of that.
Hmm.
And the middle segment is a big disappointment for me because I feel like it's a big missed opportunity to not have more meat in that section of the story with Myers' relationship with Loomis in this asylum. They just
Hmm.
kind of fast forward through it, and then yeah, the third
Yeah.
act is more like a Rob Zombified, quickened version of the original 1978 film. And so I really don't know why, for as much as I used to like it even less, the Halloween remake, why I went to go see this in the theaters. I think that shows how desperate I was for just like escapism at the time. And
Yeah.
it just really caught me off guard. Like, I got a little nervous at first when you get, the scene where the paramedic says "fuck" like 72 times or whatever it
Yep.
is. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
really, dude? Like, are we doing this again?" But I actually think he tones it way down outside of
Mhm.
that scene. And, something about it, like, I would really be fascinated to hear. I mean, I know both films are kind of tainted for him because of the actual experience working for the Weinsteins, but I'd be really interested to hear what Rob's thoughts are on both films compared to each other. Like, did he feel shackled at all with the first film, having to stick to a
Yeah.
template? And was there this freedom, or was this, pressure and intimidation with doing your own thing in the second one? Did you end up liking that more? Is that more your thing? Or did it feel like you
Yeah.
lost some of it? Like, it'd be a fascinating conversation because it's just such a wildly different movie.
Yeah, it seems like he is just like, let's go ahead and sort of like take it back and just do what I want to do. Like this
Yeah.
is what like for him, it's like this is what I want to see in a Halloween movie. Like I want the Loomis that is totally like bought into the whole like sensationalized kind of aspect of it all. He's interested in selling books. Maybe he wants his own TV show. It's sort of like a Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, like celebrity doctor
Yeah.
kind of thing. which sort of feels like it comes out of nowhere. But I do like that at least there's something different there with Loomis, you know, in that second film. And yeah, and Myers doesn't even really feel like in the first movie, he has that boogeyman kind of feeling when he's an adult. But here it's this totally different, like childlike, it's almost like he's just not all there, you know?
Mhm.
And maybe it's interesting, like, you know, Lori is some sort of beacon for him. Like he doesn't really know, but he's getting closer and closer to her. And the closer he gets to her, the more like him she becomes, and the more she starts to lose it. And they sort of, you know, become one. And it sort of goes back to what you're saying about that the brother sister connection. Not only do they do a great job with that reveal, because you actually get to see the emotion and everything, and just, you know, the distrust that she goes through and all that, but then also you know, they really are sort of melding to becoming the same person. And you're more of a theatrical cut guy than the director's cut, is that right?
On both films, strongly,
Yeah.
because the original film, the major difference is the asylum breakout, which the theatrical cut, it's not a strong scene, just, okay, he breaks his shackles for
Yeah.
some reason, why couldn't he have done that 20 years ago? But,
Hmm.
yeah, the really random, pointless scene that they throw in there for the director's cut is just like, to me, it's an
Yeah.
example of the worst sensibilities of Rob Zombie. I just,
Yeah.
there's just
It,
nothing
the
about it.
Yeah, the assault scene there is just sort of like, what is this? It's sort of like I feel the same way in Halloween Kills with the like Tivoli's death scene. Like I don't
Yeah.
mind the mob as an idea. I think the mob could have been done better. But it's like this is the kind of like grimness that I don't want to see in a Halloween movie, because I want the
Mhm.
grim to come from Michael. And I certainly don't want to see Michael as some sort of like anti-hero, which he is in that moment. It's just sort of bizarre. It almost is like, well, so he does have a conscience, so like when he's killing everyone else there is like malice behind it. Because I've always thought as of Michael, and I know Cecil from the horror show channel calls him the walking wall. You know, I kind of always thought of him as, yeah, sort of like that, where it's just kind of random. It's like a shark. Like sometimes a shark bumps into somebody and doesn't bite him, a lot
Yeah.
of times it does, you know. And I think that Michael's kind of like that. We, you know, in 2018 we sort of get that interpretation too, where he, you know, walks by the baby, the kids bump into him, no big deal. It's just sort of like completely random. And to
Mhm.
me that's one of the things that makes Michael really fascinating, is just the mystique behind it all. And I you know, I do think, you know, you're not a big fan of that white horse thing, and I think that that's like one of those mystique things here in this sequel that, yeah, I think it's maybe left up to a little bit too much interpretation. I started to think of it like, is the white horse, because Laurie sees it in the Rorschach test. Is that what the white horse is supposed to be like for the audience? Are we just supposed to see the white horse and we attribute like our own meaning to it? Which on the one hand, I can kind of see as like, oh, that's sort of cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, point us somewhere because it's your movie. You should kind of point us somewhere. Is that sort of your thing with the white horse, or do you just wish it was
Yeah.
gone completely?
Yeah, it feels like there could have been something there, but there's just maybe it's a little too fantastical within the movie, just the visual of it. It does feel like
Mhm.
one of those times, which a lot of his movies feel this way, where it's like, I gotta figure out a way to get Sherry in here, and
Yeah.
so we just gotta invent something.
Yep.
And, like, I get what he's going for, like, that's the shared madness. It's kind of like this vision that drives them. I mean, when you have the end of the movie where she's sitting in the asylum and she sees, her mother and the horse come in,
Yep.
like, I don't know. Like, first of all, I don't know what the horse is there about. Like, you could just have Sherry Moon Zombie as a spirit and it would have been enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those times where it just it feels so strange even within this film where everything is so on the nose and deliberate. And then you have this
Mhm.
weird, up to interpretation,
Yeah.
more of a visual metaphor going on within the movie. And it's like, no, dude, we're not doing that.
Yeah, you know, he does take that's I guess that's the thing about taking swings. And, you know, I love seeing ambition in art, you know, film, music, whatever. And it's like even like something like comedy where it's like, I don't need to laugh at everything you're doing, but if I'm laughing like 80% of the time, like that's a pretty good percentage. Like I'll roll with you. And then the like, because I understand like part of being creative is also making sure that it satisfies, you know, the person creating it should get some sort of satisfaction as well and just be able to express themselves. But yeah, I can totally see why the white horse is a little bit of a swing and a miss or a foul ball that doesn't quite land in the field of play for sure.
Mhm.
Now
How do you feel about the director's cut ending?
so that's and you know what? I prefer the director's cut overall, but I
Mhm.
really don't like that ending, man. I think
Yeah.
what I love from the director's cut is I don't mind getting more of that like ugly Laurie. I think it's
Mhm.
kind of it just sort of leans into more meat on the bone with the character development and the story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my thing. Like when I watch movies, like I want to see change in character and I want to see a satisfying story. So it's like whatever else you're doing in your movie, all of that's great. But if those things don't really work for me, then I don't really care what kind of like point you're trying to make politically or otherwise. Like to me, it's all about like, can you tell a good story first? And I think that the director's cut just gives you a little bit more of that. It makes to me the movie makes a little bit more sense in that way. But I totally get it because I hear people all the time that are like, I don't want Laurie to be that grim and that depressing. And so it's like, well, yeah, fair is fair on that one, you know, and you don't have to hear, I never want to hear adult Michael speak. I don't even know if I want to ever hear child
Mhm.
Michael speak, like, or really see child Michael. I think what we get of him in the original film is enough. Like to me, that sort of sets up the whole thing. And again, it's for me with Michael, it's the mystique of the character that makes him my favorite. You know, that's
Yeah.
where it's at. The less I know, the better, really.
Yeah. I'm kinda torn on the whole, how grim Laurie is in the director's
Hmm.
cut, because obviously that's the point of the movie, and I dig where he's going with that for the most part, but I do wish there was more of a balance. I feel like there's a point where she just becomes kind of unlikable, especially with how
Yeah.
rough she is with Daniel Harris's character, and then only feels human after she's been mutilated, which, by the way,
Hmm.
like, that scene in and of itself is, as far as
Yeah.
performances go, Brad Dourif in that scene is the best thing that Rob Zombie's ever done as far as directing actors. But
Yeah.
yeah, the ending's always tough for me, and that's where I always end up reaching for the theatrical, because I just, first of all, I love the way that the original ending is shot, where you have the helicopter and the lights and the chaos inside of that little
Hmm.
barn, and, she's freaking out, and Loomis gets that moment where he's trying to, like, redeem himself, and, then you have, Michael being told, like, it's time, and Loomis gets fucked up, and, then I don't necessarily need Laurie to walk out wearing his mask. I think that's a little too on the nose. Like, we get it. We don't need to have the mask on there for you to
Sure.
convey what's going on. But overall, I just think aesthetically, that's a better ending, even without the horrible line that they give Myers in the director's cut. But I just prefer the aesthetic of that. But yeah, when I saw the director's cut for the first time and he pulls him out and it says "die," I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna
And
give him a line, why that one?
and it's just like what line would have worked. I think that's one of the things where it's like let the piece of art speak to you as a creator. Like that just doesn't fit, like, you know. I've been there before, like recording music or whatever, and it's just like, you know what, this thing just doesn't fit. Like I want it to be there, but it doesn't sound right, so it's got to go.
Yeah,
And I mean, what does he say? Does he like call him daddy or something? It's just like what does he do, you know, because they have that whole thing about how like, you know, Loomis has become the surrogate father figure or whatever, you know, for Michael within this, you know, 2 movie series. But yeah, I can't get behind the talking. I
yeah.
really can't. To me, it makes as much sense as hearing Jason talk.
Mhm.
And I don't want that either. We got Chucky and we got Freddy. They're the talkers and they're great at it.
Yeah.
You know, and Michael can just be the friggin' walking wall as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that surrogate father relationship is what I wish we got a little bit more of across these 2 movies. I think that could have been a really interesting thing to have there,
Hmm.
especially with the direction he decides to go in the second film, because I really think there is something there, like you were talking about. Like, we have that debate a lot nowadays where it's, like, sensationalizing these serial killers, like people walking around with Jeffrey Dahmer T-shirts and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and, even people debating the merits of having a TV series that's retelling these events. And I was talking with somebody about this at the convention we were at, actually, where we were talking about. I think we passed a booth where somebody was wearing one of those, and it's like, I don't really think about it that often, but like, what would it be like if I was a family member of somebody that was a victim of this person, and I walk up and I see somebody wearing their face like they're a celebrity? Like,
Yeah.
there's just something about that I think we don't acknowledge much, and I like what they try to do in this movie, where they really kind of lean into that. Like, you got the dad that literally tries to shoot Loomis, as
Yeah.
the father of one of the victims of the first film, because he's sitting there, getting celebrity and getting all these talk show gigs and selling books off of his daughter's murder. And there's something
you know?
there. I think it's interesting. You know, it's a lot of people don't like seeing Loomis go that direction. They don't like him being the douchebag, but there's something there.
It's kind of, I think it's a realistic approach, like, in the modern age, and,
Yeah.
this movie, in a way, was sort of, I feel like it was a little bit ahead of its time in that sense, not only with that too, like, the whole, the doctor turning it into a celebrity thing, but even, exploring the after effects, 2 years later, I guess 1 year later in the theatrical cut, like, it was the first slasher movie that I ever saw that was like, what happens to these people after? I'd
Mhm.
never seen a sequel that really examined, what the survivors go through and the varying degrees, like the spectrum. So you have Brad Dourif as Brackett. He's trying to keep his family together. Annie goes from being the party girl in the remake to sort of being like the mom here,
Mhm.
So she's trying to keep it together with her dad because Laurie is the angsty teenage daughter that's partying and all that kind of stuff. And I think that was, before the, I would say, maybe heavy-handed approach to trauma in the David Gordon Green trilogy, at least with how much Jamie Lee Curtis said the damn word when she was doing press for it,
Yeah.
almost like it was brainwashing. This movie's about trauma. Rob Zombie did it 15 years ago in a time where it wasn't a buzzword. It wasn't as popular to talk about that kind of thing. So I certainly do think, yeah, he should get some credit for that. And yeah, maybe there should have been something where Michael hunts Loomis down first and then goes for Laurie. And we kind of get like, the first half of the movie is sort of like their relationship sort of coming to an end and then him connecting with his sister after, something like that.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Loomis feels sort of just ancillary to the story. He's just like, oh, there's Loomis being a jerk about his PG tips. And I want
Mhm.
it sizzling hot.
Yeah.
Um, funny story, at a convention earlier this year at Days of the Dead, I'm like waiting for the elevator. A whole bunch of us are waiting, and friggin' Malcolm McDowell walks up, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, is this the elevator up to the convention? And I was like, yeah, don't worry, Malcolm. I'll make sure you get on, bud.
Yeah.
And then the whole time I'm just like, don't say anything on the
Uh-huh.
elevator. I'm like, just let him take an elevator ride in peace.
It's so hard.
But what a guy, like, you could put him, I've said this before, you could put Malcolm McDowell in the room and he'd still be good in it. Like, I think
Mhm.
that's the great thing about him as a performer.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like where they take Loomis in this movie, he does great with what he's got for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel about the dream sequence opening? Because that's another thing I hear a lot of contention about, and I find it to be fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. I'm like, why the hell not? Like you said in your review, it's not, it's like just under 10 minutes long, something like that.
Mhm.
To me, I think it's a nice, clever nod. I think it's a great way to do that sort of nostalgia nod to the fans without being, we have all these legacy sequels now where it's just like they're just straight up like repeating lines that they would have no way of knowing unless they watched the movies too. So we see these characters that it's like, oh, you know about the movies because you're repeating like the catchphrases,
Yeah.
And I think that something like that is sort of, yeah, Rob Zombie throwing a bone to the original Halloween 2, which yeah, I think it's awesome. And I think like it's, there are certain clues that it's a dream. And it's one of the things where he does it, pretty subtly with the Moody Blues. I thought was a good touch,
Mhm.
having that song just go throughout the whole thing. Once she falls in the dumpster of bodies, I think you should start thinking that maybe this isn't quite right.
Yeah, well, I mean, even
um,
before that, where you got, like, people, like, strung up in the stairwell, like,
oh
every room is,
yeah,
like, artwork, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
grim, macabre artwork.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that whole section is awesome. Like, first of all, just brutality-wise, it's insane, the amount of kills and how brutal the kills are, and, even some of
Hmm.
those things we're talking about, just the visuals of it. I think that Scout does a great job in it, and it takes its time to kind of paint, that word again, the trauma of that
Yeah,
first film, and so that's one of the common complaints I've always heard about the movie where they're like, "It just goes on forever," and I'm like, "But it's cool." So
yeah.
who cares? But, yeah, that's another one that I've always really appreciated this movie for that seems to be a big point of contention for a lot of people.
Yeah, again, it's like I think sometimes, and this is when I say things like, maybe hearing people discuss these sorts of things, maybe people can get the folks who don't like the movie can get little bit of a different perception is that, and you say this in your review as well, is that, you know, we're seeing what Laurie goes through every single night. And
Uh-huh.
so it's like, imagine having a dream like this one every single night, and what would that do to you?
Yeah.
So if you just don't like it because it's a dream sequence, it's like, it's actually a storytelling device. It's not like something like, oh, that was just a dream and it's pointless. Like, no, it has a great bearing on
Exactly.
why Laurie is the way she is now. And this is a different girl. Like in the first movie, when she's like sticking her finger through the bagel and she's being like a playful, you know, the most playful version of Laurie we've seen, like you contrast that to her in this film and you see that, like, yeah, she's forever changed, you
Yeah.
know, whether or not she wants to admit it. And then I think too, once she finds out that she's Michael's sister, for her, it's kind of like, oh my God, this makes sense. And this is my destiny. And I'm like, you know, she tells her friends, like, I'm fucked. And I
Yeah.
think like that's the realization is like, this isn't just a phase that I'm gonna like get through. Like this is my life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people, you know, maybe they just miss. Maybe they heard somebody else say they don't like it, so they're just like, yeah, I don't like it too. I think that sometimes fandom can sort of be like that. You can hop on the
Oh, yeah.
bandwagon either way, which is why I always encourage people. Like one of the things we talk about here is, you know, disagreeing, having a different opinion on art is like completely valid. What I'm interested in, what makes me fascinated is why. Like, why does something work for you? Why doesn't something work for you? Like, to be able to articulate it, because a smarter audience is going to command better art and we're going to get better movies, better music, all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally
That's
agree.
just me. I'll get off my soapbox there on that one. Because I'll never convince anyone to like Halloween Ends. I know that. And is this the Halloween Ends of its time? Was this Halloween Ends before Ends?
No, this wasn't divisive at all when it came out. It was pretty much universal hate, and then just some of us weirdos started to kind of, you know, dig through the rubble over the last
Yeah.
15 years and be like, "Actually, I'm here."
Eh,
Ends kind of felt like it was, I wouldn't say 50-50, but there was a very passionate group that defended it, that loved it, that it was annoyed at the hate, and then
mhm.
equal amounts over here where it's like, you've just ruined the franchise, and it's like, "Oh, again?"
Yeah. Well, and they get to start over. So it's just like, you know, if you think it's done, don't worry. Michael won't be gone for long because Malik Akkad is too good of a producer to let him be gone for that long. Um, you know, and so do you think that, is it getting more love now? Is it getting more love because it's like, you know, if you speak out about it, it's not as like much of a hot take now? Do you think it's just that people are giving it a chance, or they're listening to, you know, reviewers and people that break down the movie and sort of, you know, being swayed just by giving it that extra shot?
There's probably a little bit of that. I mean, I've certainly been there where somebody kind of brings a new context to it and gets you to think about
Hmm.
even just a scene a little differently. And you're like, okay, I could see that. And then you
Yeah.
watch the film through a different lens the next time you go to see it. So there's probably a little bit of that. And there's probably also just a bit of, you know, it was sometimes expectations are a bitch. And so I think people walk in, you know, I find it to be incredibly odd, people that love his first film and hate the second film. Those are the ones I
Yeah.
really don't comprehend a whole lot, because it's like, man, if you don't like either one of them, I get it. Some people just, Rob Zombie's not for them.
Hmm.
But I think some expectations hurt the movie a lot, where, you know, people walked in from expectations from the first film, or they walked in, you know, expecting a more straightforward Michael Myers movie, and it just takes so many big swings and chances and goes for broke in so many different ways that I think at the time people were just, it was overwhelming. It was like too much to
Yeah.
compute. And so a lot of people probably haven't given it a second chance in a long time. And then
That's
hearing
true.
some people talk about it, and, you know, they're trying to remember these scenes, like, oh yeah, the dream sequence at the beginning, or, oh, okay, yeah, the Loomis thing. Hearing people that like the movie, or at least appreciate it more, talk about it, probably makes them go, maybe I need to give it another shot, because it's been 15 years and I hated it,
Yeah.
but it sounds a little more interesting.
I think there's some people that are just like, people like this movie, and
Yeah.
then that, even that thought is like, maybe I do need to check it out. You know, Raymond Malaber, who's in our chat here, he had said earlier, there we go, rewatched it earlier and actually liked it this time.
Very
So,
cool.
you know, people giving it that extra shot. Do you feel differently about it? Like, have you grown to love it a little bit more, or maybe there are things that when you initially did your review that you have kind of warmed up to, at least to some sort of degree?
I don't think my thoughts have changed since I reviewed it, but I did start to like it a lot more once I watched the rest of the franchise because there was a number of
Mm.
the sequels in the middle that I had not experienced in years, and since I was a kid, might as well have been first time watches, like most of the Thorn movies. And so, whenever I was reviewing the films and like really kind of diving deep into all of them, it made me appreciate it so much more because of exactly what I was saying earlier, kind of getting that change of pace. It's one of the reasons
Mhm.
why I've always liked Jason Goes to Hell, because after getting through 8 movies of kind of the same thing, you get to this
Yeah,
fucking wild, weird movie, and it's like, I'm ready for something different. And
yeah.
so it was a movie that I liked in theaters, and I was surprised how much I liked it for how my distaste of the first film. But after having, dove deep into this franchise so much after having a YouTube channel, I appreciate it even more just because it's so ballsy and different.
It is, yeah, and speaking of Jason Goes to Hell, there's a lot of that I really enjoy too. I think my biggest gripe, honestly, is the music because they're using this really
Yeah.
whatever synthesizer they're using. Every time I hear the opening credits, I'm like, "Can I just fast forward? Because this just sounds like the cheapest instrument I've ever heard." Maybe it's just that era, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think the characters, like, Steven is one of my favorite characters in the whole franchise, like, he's really fun. That move where he jumps over his when his hands are in the cuffs behind his back and he jumps over them and grabs the gun in like one fell swoop. I'm like, we got this nerdy guy in a Letterman jacket, like doing some badass shit here. Like, come on, like, where's the love? Maybe it's because I'm a huge Dead Alive fan, but I like watching some scrawny guys pull off some really cool shit. And
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm kind of a scrawny guy. So, a little
You
bit of
feel
that
hurt.
association. Yeah, I'm like, finally. Because we can't all be like handsome and buff like Ash Williams. I mean, come on, what
Yeah.
can you do? Yeah, so this one, I'm curious to know with I wanted to bring up Love Hurts.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about this because we were going to talk about music a little bit. This won't be a complete transition here. I just thought this was fascinating because I always thought that like the Nazareth version of this song was the original version because it's
Mhm.
just the one that I heard growing up. I don't, did you know this? I had no idea, but it's an Everly Brothers song. Are you
No,
familiar with those guys? So I had no idea, and like they're like old school. They call them country, but to me, it's just like rock and roll. But the guy that wrote like a bunch of Buddy Holly songs and everything like that. So I'm like, well, this is kind of crazy that like this song was written in like the late 50s, early 60s, something like that. We've seen it kind of interpreted in all these different ways. And we see Rob Zombie's like kind of clever with what he does with the soundtracks in his movies. And I
Mhm.
would imagine that's because of his background even while Richard Brake is yelling fuck 72 times. I still don't understand like that they didn't like give him some different direction there. But
Yeah.
there's that song that's like the things we do for love. Like there's this whole like love theme in these little like, and I didn't really realize it until like listening with headphones on, where I was like, oh, he's sneaking in all these like kind of cheesy, well, maybe not cheesy, but classic like love songs. And it
Mhm.
really does sort of come back to that whole familial connection, wide-eyed Sherry Moon looking at Michael and everything like that, and then Michael having that connection with Lori. Do you think what do you think that Rob brings here as a musician coming to a visual medium that sort of gives him an edge? Because I certainly think, like you were saying, his visuals are beautiful. Like I think
Mhm.
the way that he shoots movies is absolutely gorgeous. I see a lot of Kubrick influence. I mean, I see Kubrick influence all over the place, but certainly see it with how he composes his shots. And then do you think he sort of has an edge in a different way than Carpenter? But I think that's an edge that Carpenter has as well, as controlling the music side of things as well.
Yeah, I think that his, experience as an artist in the music side of things kinda gives him, this passion for music where, like, I know a lot of times I'll listen to a song and I'm like, almost like I envision a movie scene that this would be cool with, and I feel like he
Hmm.
kinda has that same eye too. You see it in a lot of his movies where much more on the side of, like, "This would be cool here," versus this one
Yep.
being much more of, like, a underlying message that he's trying to get at through all the different song choices. But whether it's Tom Sawyer, When We Meet Joe Grizzly Bitch, or
Yeah.
even go into like movies I'm not really a big fan of, but like Rob Zombie's 31, where he plays the Aerosmith throughout the entire finale of the film, or Freebird. in
Yeah.
Devil's Rejects. It feels like he very much has like for as much of a passion as he has for 70s grindhousey kind of films, he has that same passion for music, and I think he always tries to find a way to like bridge the gap and bring them together. So where he doesn't necessarily compose the music on the level that John Carpenter does, where he has meticulous detail over every note, I
Mhm.
think he just has such a love and such a knowledge for music of that time that he just like, this is the vibe that I'm going for in the scene, and this is the perfect song for it. And so you
Yeah.
definitely get that bridge of his passion and his style together as a filmmaker.
He's a bit of a it's almost like a reverse Zack Snyder. Like, I really
Yeah.
dig, like, what Zack does with visuals, but sometimes with the songs, I'm like, "Oh, dude, like, oh, you just missed me with that one. I'm sorry, Zack." I mean, it doesn't not to take anything away from him. Clearly, my opinion doesn't affect Zack Snyder's career one iota,
Mhm.
but just something I noticed where I'm like, "Oh, you cut another trailer." And I guess he doesn't even cut the trailers, but even some of his action scenes where it's like the cuts match the beat of the music, and I'm just sort of like, okay, I get what you're doing, but
Yeah.
seems like a little not much deep thought went into that. There was some thought, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I wholeheartedly agree with something that you said in your review of this film, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, is that he's got to have somebody help him write his damn movies. It's like him and
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan just need to bring somebody in. Like, can someone help him bring him home?
Yeah.
Like do something to make some sense out of it. And I guess kind of speaking of that, Death Cannon X, welcome to the chat, Death Cannon X. Everybody make them feel welcome here. Says, I'm not super far in yet or anything, but does anybody notice the many similarities between Rob's vision and the Thorn trilogy? Similar to Jamie and Michael having a psychic connection. I really, other than that, I haven't thought about it too much. Is there something in there, Cody, that you recognize that sort of reminds you of what's going on in the Thorn trilogy with what Rob did?
No, and even though that is something you can compare, that little connection there, I don't think it's much of a it's much more supernatural with the psychic side of things in the Thorn trilogy, where here it's almost just like this family bond that kind
Mhm.
of transcends a little bit. So it's a little more grounded, taken a little bit more seriously, I think, with the way that he's trying to do it.
For sure. Yeah, it's I guess, in the Thorn trilogy, it's a cult, and then in this movie, it's a white horse and wide-eyed, Sherry Moon zombie. And then I saw another question early on. We actually got a super chat from Lee B Films. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. It's super awesome seeing those. Still kind of new for me, the memberships and the super chat. So really cool. Which Rob Zombie unmade film would you have wanted to see? The Crow, The Blob, or Punisher 2 with Thomas Jane? I didn't even know about Punisher 2.
The only one I knew about was the Blob. Um, I'm gonna say the Blob because the other two I'm much more close with, and I'd be a
Yeah.
little more guarded with him. Like there's a I would want to see Rob Zombie do like an action type movie, like a
Mhm.
almost like a Death Wish or something like that. I think he could do something cool with that. Like I love what Eli Roth did whenever he went that route. The
Mhm.
Crow, no, no, thank you. The
Yeah.
Blob, I'd be curious to see what his version of the Blob would be. Like what could you Rob Zombify about the Blob?
Yeah, it almost seems like he would be perfect for something like Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
I mean, and Marcus Nispel did an amazing job with that remake. So it's sort of like I get why Rob never, ventured in there because he
Mhm.
picked up Halloween just a few years later. But man, for Marcus Nispel to jump in there and do TCM03, I know you're a big fan of that one. I
Oh, yeah.
I really like the Friday the 13th remake as well.
Same.
Like as a director, I think that the brutality and what he does. And I actually see a little bit of the moves, Nispel's like camera movement moves here in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, where the little bit of the shaking of the camera right when impact happens, just something that
Mhm.
sort of makes it feel a little more visceral, a little more real and uncomfortable. Similar to like what you had brought up, Michael putting his mask on when it's time to get down to business, which I sort of think of as like, it's like his version of Clark Kent turning into Superman. It's just this really, brutal version of that same kind of thing where he's like, all right, got to put on my suit now. You
Yeah.
fucked with me.
I even like how
And
he grunts in this movie, where you
yes.
like when you feel the impact. "Roar, roar." Like I don't need him to talk,
Hmm.
but that doesn't really break the reality of Michael Myers for me when he grunts.
Yeah.
Like him just putting that kind of emotion into it, I actually thought was pretty wild. So that's another like wild swing that people hate that I actually dig.
That's so odd to me because that's something like in, for example, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I love that Jason grunts in that movie because
Yeah.
it's, feels like Jason's a little more real, like a little bit more of an actual character. He's not
Hmm.
quite undead yet. And yeah, it's not like Rob Zombie, or it's not like Michael Myers is saying die every time he stabs somebody.
Yeah.
Um, he does stab Octavia Spencer quite a bit, although I guess that's in a dream sequence. So,
Mhm.
take with it what you will. How about eating the dog, bringing that back? Uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's something that, it's one of those scenes that's easily overlooked in the original, and he's just like, "All right, well, you ain't gonna overlook it this time." So,
Yeah.
mm.
He's going to sit down and actually have a meal here.
Get the bib out.
Exactly. Um, well, I think we've gone through the Halloween 2 talk.
Mhm.
Unless there's something else that you can think of with that one.
Nope.
Um, I think we've gone through it. Let's talk really quick. Terrifier 3 dropped a trailer today, so I feel like if we don't say something about it, it's just a missed opportunity. You and I spoke before we jumped in here, and it sounds like neither one of us is going to watch this trailer.
Yeah, I wanna go into this one blind. I've kind of adopted this philosophy with horror, especially where if my ticket's already bought, like, if I'm gonna be there no matter what, then I don't really need to see the trailer. Sometimes I
Mhm.
can't help myself if it's something huge, like, if they bring us a new Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm watching the fuck out of that trailer. But this one, yeah, I kinda wanna walk in blind. I walked into the first one blind, walked into the second one blind, and, I don't want any hints or any kind of images in my head about where things are gonna go. I just kinda wanna go on the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple experiences lately where I watched a trailer, I got really excited, and then I watched the second trailer and I was like, "Well, it didn't get me more excited." So in a way, it's sort of like made me less excited
Mhm.
just by omission of excitement. And I'm just sort of like, even the Beetlejuice trailer, I was like, man, they're giving away a bunch of the jokes. And we kind of talked about this a little bit the other night at the convention, where it's like back in the day, you used to go to the theater, you would see the trailer in the theater, and then you never saw it again
Yeah.
until you watch the movie 6 to 9 months later. Maybe you saw a TV spot, but now we sort of live in this world where you can like sit and watch that trailer all you want. People do breakdowns and everything. So you like, to me, it sort of deflates like the possibility of that excitement hitting you when you're actually in the theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never thought I would feel this way, but I made a really quick shift. It was like the last couple months where I'm like, once I'm convinced that I want to see the movie, I'm out. I don't want to see anything else.
Yeah. I've had that shift, a little slower at first, but certainly harder here, since I've been doing YouTube when Sinister came out. Because Sinister was a trailer that I felt like just kinda compartmentalized the entire movie into 2 minutes. Classic Blumhouse
Mhm.
move. And,
Yeah.
I just know how much more rewarding it usually is when you walk in and you're able to be surprised by things, because it's impossible, to not have certain things kinda stored in the back of your head, and
Yeah.
so sometimes, you're sitting there like, "I haven't seen that one scene from the trailer yet," and so it does affect
Mhm.
your experience, and so with horror, I like to go on the ride that was intended and not have
Mhm.
the marketing mess that up for you, and especially with more specifically with Blumhouse, how many trailers nowadays are just spoiler ridden, where it's just
Yeah.
like it almost seems like they're trying to ruin the experience for you. But I don't think that'd be the case for Terrifier. But I want to walk into that one blind. I want to just be shocked by everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, in talking about the Blumhouse trailers, I mean, even the 2018 Halloween trailer, it's like, well, we pretty much know that Vicky's gonna get it after opening up the I mean, how is she
Yep.
not gonna get it? Like, it's sort of like, oh man, I wanted to that's a character I would have loved to see live on, but I know people gotta die in Halloween movies. I can't hang on to everyone. I just thought she was very charming in that
Hmm.
film. And maybe if they knew they were gonna make a trilogy, they would have kept her around. Maybe this is something I've thought about. Maybe if they knew it was going to be a trilogy, we would have had Corey introduced in the first film. I've thought it like would have been cool to have him maybe, be in the National Honor Society with Allison. Maybe he's like a really smart kid, but doesn't have the money to go to college, that kind of thing. And just
Yeah.
he doesn't even have to be in Kills at all. And then when you bring him back, you're like, oh, that guy, and
Yeah.
then it's sort of because one of the things I like is going back to a movie once you sort of know how it all shakes out, especially, you know, in a whodunit kind of thing, which this isn't that, but, you know, especially in that sort of film, and then getting to rewatch it with those, you know, that set of eyes where you know how it all plays out. And yeah, I mean, yeah, the trailer game, I've tried doing the whole you know, movie reviews and trailer reactions and stuff. And I think as I move on through the YouTube journey, I'm just sort of like, you know what? There's just some things that you can let other people do because they're really good at doing them, and you don't have
Yeah.
to try to do everything that everyone's doing out there.
Mhm.
And especially in the review game, because man, you know, folks such as yourself, like you've been doing this so long, you've got, I mean, your analysis of film, and I'm just going to gush for a second, so just deal with it. All right. Your analysis of film it's really concise. It's well thought out. And I think one of the things that, you know, has maybe provided you with success, but also gets people jealous and angry with you on Twitter is the fact that you're really smart. And
Mhm.
people probably don't want to admit that, or they probably want to be like, oh, this guy that swears a lot or wears this shirt or has metal music on his intro, like who's this dumb fucking dude talking about blah 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 telling me what to think. And it's
You'd
like,
be surprised how
no,
much the shirt comes up, where it'd be something to be like, "Oh,
really.
I'm gonna take somebody seriously wearing a Chucky shirt," and I'm like, "'Cause that means anything, but sure."
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that, like, intelligence can sometimes be a sneaky attribute that maybe
Mhm.
people don't always wear in a outwardly kind of fashion, or they're not, you know, not every intelligent person is like a scientist or a politician or whatever. Like, they're all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, one of the things that when I started doing reviews, I was just like, man, there's so many great reviewers out there. I just don't know. I just don't think that's necessary. I'll just, you know, try to carve out my own spot and I don't know, do something like this silly little late night talk show.
There you go.
Now, you're a big music fan, and
Mhm.
we talked a little bit about music this weekend as well. And you know what, I was sort of surprised a little bit because you had mentioned like your top 5 concerts, and you know, maybe this is me assuming a little bit, but I thought, oh, it's gonna be, you know, Kill Switch Engage, it's gonna be like some metal stuff, and you brought up Matchbox 20 as one of like your best concert experiences ever,
Damn
and
right.
I'm fascinated with that one because there's a little bit of an age gap between us. So like when I think of Matchbox 20, it's like my high school days. I group them right together with like Collective Soul and like Third Eye Blind and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I think that when you're a high schooler, you have a totally different viewpoint about the modern like rock that comes out. So at that point, I was just sort of like, oh, these like soft rockers. But I want to hear about that show and you know what really like kind of brought it home for you. And was this something that like was that a band you listened to a lot as a kid, or you had like, you know, siblings or your parents were rocking them? I'm just curious to know what that the love of Matchbox 20.
So, yeah, they were one of those bands I just listened to a lot as a kid and kind of forgot about them for a long time and kinda rediscovered them when I was in high school. I think I was doing, like, a video project or something, and I was like, "What's that one song?" And then it was, "Bent" by Matchbox 20 I ended up using and kind of rediscovered them again. But for me, I like balance. Like, I love a lot of the
Mm,
heavier, darker stuff, but I need some balance in there, and so they're, like, the perfect balance to me where they're just like feel good music. They still kind of talk about some, you know, more adult themes and everything, but it's music that for the most part it just puts me in a good mood. And so I
mm,
just as an adult especially, I need that sometimes. I'm just in the mood for darkness when I'm in the mood for darkness, and then sometimes when I'm not, I need something else to kind of throw the shift the other direction. But yeah, there was a lot of reasons why that ended up being such a great show because I mean, first of all, anytime I get to see a band that I love for the first time, there's a cool little novelty there. But
yeah.
this was, unbeknownst to me, a show that was scheduled during COVID and then was like postponed 2 years, and I ended up buying tickets just because I randomly came across it. It must have been some ticket that somebody like just, you know, put back on the market because they were tired of waiting on it. And so when we went there, they opened up and they were, you know, doing some new songs, which is also very cool because they had a brand new album
Yeah.
that dropped not too long before the concert that I hadn't had a chance to listen to yet. So every new song they played was my first experience with it, and I liked every single one of them. And they said, you know, because of the delay and kind of celebration of everybody finally getting back together, they were going to play a full 2-hour set, which I had never seen a band do before.
It's
And
wild.
so it was literally like every song that you would want them to play, they played. Like you always leave a concert going like, man, that was good, but I wish they would have played that one. I wish there was this. It was a
Mhm.
little more of this album in there. Sometimes they stick a little too much to the singles. And this was one where it was just like, did they play like their entire discography? It felt like it.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that my wife has always been a big fan of them too was nice because we've been to a ton of concerts together, and they're usually front loaded by me. Usually that it's a band that I
Sure.
love and she either likes or tolerates or is just there kind of with me. And this was one where we were both like equally into it and singing every word, and it was just it was a really cool experience for all of that. And they played incredible. I mean, there's one of those bands like, Rob Thomas is phenomenal. So he just sounds just like he does in the album.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, are they a bit more rockin' live? Do they, you notice anything like, ooh, they played it like a little bit faster, they had a little more oomph or something like that? Did they provide an experience that to you felt, aside from the album, like something that was kind of wholly unique?
Not necessarily. They didn't really change the tempos up or anything like that. But what was kind of neat was just how they arranged themselves as a band. Like certain songs, bringing the piano out and having everybody circle around the
Mm,
piano and doing things like that to give a different vibe to it. But they pretty much played it exactly as recorded, which was pretty wild because it just sounded spot on.
yeah. Little showmanship. I like that when they do that. I've been fortunate enough to see like REO Speedwagon a couple times. When we were talking,
Mhm.
I had mentioned that Styx. It was like Styx and REO Speedwagon, and I had no idea that Styx's discography was like all these songs that I grew up hearing that I had no idea were Styx. And
Mhm.
that to me was like, shit, I gotta get into Styx because I was totally underselling these guys. I always thought they were like, oh, this is the radio version of Rush, like
Yeah.
Rush for normies. And then after watching them live, I was like, wow, that song sticks. And then this song is sticks. And then same kind of thing, like you're saying, like really playful with the arrangement on stage and just providing like that visual aspect to the show that was really fun. And yeah, I totally get you on being the one that's front loading some of those experiences. I dragged my wife to horror conventions. I dragged her to H45 last year. And the one though, I will say this, like my wife listens, it's a bunch of like a lot of outlaw country, but she's really into like the Rolling Stones. She loves like Jack White and all that kind of stuff as well. So and Red Hot Chili Peppers are like her favorite band. But I have the proud husband moment of getting her into Megadeth. And we saw Megadeth. We've seen them twice now. It was about a year and a half ago when we went for the first time. And she like turned around and gave me this like, this is the best show I've ever been to. And it was just, like totally blew my mind. I had no idea that she's sitting there like dancing and like screaming out the lyrics to Megadeth songs. And it's just,
That's cool.
little tear in my eye from that kind of experience there.
Yeah, I took my wife to her first rock show, and that was an experience. So she bought tickets to it was Seether and Papa Roach. She bought it for me the first year that we were together, and we went, and it was like, VIP, so we got to go in early, so we were very close to the stage, and it was standing room, and you know how it gets, certain heavier songs, you get the guys that like the
Yeah,
mosh and everything like that. I
sure.
personally hate that, but it's just comes with the territory. And
Yep.
watching my wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, experience what a rock show was like when she's only seen country shows and things like that was
Yeah.
pretty damn funny. She's like, "What the fuck? Like, I'm gonna get killed." And so
It
she was like doing this with her elbows and stuff, keeping people away from her. It was pretty funny.
it is a little bit of controlled chaos at a
Yes.
rowdy show, and it is fun to see things get really wild, but still sort of feel like there's a degree of safety. I mean, I've certainly played my fair share of like basement shows and house shows where you're like, man, anything could happen, but then it ends up being sort of like the experience that we have in the horror community, where it's like, oh, everyone looks out for each other, so they're
Yeah.
all acting like they want to be dangerous, but like very seldomly are you going to find somebody that's truly trying to be an asshole. And sure, alcohol is a hell of a drug, so it happens,
I
but
found
doesn't happen
one
as much.
I found one in an Alter Bridge show, and it was the only time that my wife has ever seen me almost get into a fight, and I think it turned her on
Wow.
because she kept talking about it. So there was some guy for some reason, like, first of all, Like Alter Bridge gets really heavy, but that's an odd band to do mosh pits with.
Sure,
And
yeah.
so nobody in the crowd was feeling it. And this one dude who I could tell was a military guy who was probably drunk, and he kept trying to start mosh pits. And they got to a point where he was literally like grabbing people and trying to like pull them in to get the
Oh,
motion going. And so I was already on edge about that. And then he ended up, I don't remember if it was him or the person that he was pulling ended up knocking into a couple of girls and my wife. And you want to talk
oh,
about like,
geez.
I saw red and I floated like fucking Dracula. I was like, and just floated into the middle of it and grabbed him and fucking screamed at him. And after that, he stopped. But yeah, that was a wild one. Every time
And
after that, now she's like, I wonder if you're gonna get in a fight this time. And I'm like, stop! I don't want to fight.
she's like, "Do you think you're gonna get into a fight?" Oh, God, and she starts grabbing ice,
Yeah,
dripping it on her.
exactly. He
Um,
starts picking fight. That guy looked at me weird.
Hey, you know what? I've heard of ladies doing that. I've heard of people even making stuff up because they want to see their guys fight people. But
Yeah,
we don't need you in jail, Cody. We need you out there talking about
yeah,
the movies and doing all that kind of fun stuff.
exactly.
And it is odd at an Alter Bridge show because yeah, it's not like there's some sort of like, wussy kind of band, but relatively mid-tempo, I would
Hmm.
say, sort of like, what are you trying to do here, guy? Like this is MTV rock. Like take it easy, bud.
Yeah, sometimes it's just weird. It just feels like people want to do it and it just doesn't make sense. Like, I was at Rockville one year and I was with luckily he's a big dude, a guy I used to work with. And we saw Alice Cooper's set and he kept having to like, block a mosh pit. I remember the show was over. He's like, I can't fucking believe I was in a mosh pit at an Alice Cooper show. This makes no sense. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, some people just love it. Every show, doesn't matter who the hell it is, they're trying to mosh.
That's why they go. They're like, I'm gonna start throwing my fists around. It's gonna get wild.
I just don't understand the appeal of it at all. Like, I get it if you're the band, I get an appeal there. You see people that are really fucking into it and, like,
Yes.
you kinda egg it on sometimes, but I
Yeah.
just don't get it. Like, I wanna hear the music, I wanna see the band, like, running
Yeah.
around and knocking elbows and falling down, like, that just I don't understand it at all. I don't even like being next to it because I feel like I have to pay attention to them more than the music to make sure I don't get
Yeah.
knocked over. It drives
I'm
me
I'm the
nuts.
same way. I don't really understand, like, coming from a musical background, I've never really understood dancing or moshing or anything like that. The only time I feel like I can move my body in a natural way is if I'm on stage playing music.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it just feels like, "Hey, I'm being phony."
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of guy where it's like, I'd rather have some, like, bruises on my ribs from being pushed up against the stage or the barrier. Like, I wanna feel
Yeah.
that pain the next day. But, yeah, being there to shout out the all the lyrics and everything like that. And yeah, just soaking up the show for sure.
Yeah.
We have another super chat question from Lee B Films. Says, Cody, would you rather have Rob Zombie see your 31 review or Brad Dourif see your Seed of Chucky review? Ooh.
Brad Dourif, hands down. I'm actually kind of embarrassed by that 31 review. I've debated on deleting it a few times. So that was back whenever I was pretty new on YouTube and I was I leaned heavily into the rant side of things. And so I would
Mm,
just say shit just because I was in that rant mode. And so there's a spot in my Rob Zombies 31 review where I say something along the lines of, um, I think Rob Zombie's a terrible director and I hope he never directs a film again. And I just hate the fact that
uh,
that's out there. 'Cause I don't believe that at all, and I think that's ridiculous for
yeah.
somebody to say, and so there's a couple of my reviews early on where I'm just like, "Oh, why do you exist? Why did you say that?" The Brad Dourif seeing my Seed of Chucky review, like, I don't think I say anything bad about Brad Dourif aside from just I don't think that the movie's good,
Yeah.
so if he's mad about that, then whatever, but, yeah, I would not be happy if, I was talking with Rob and he's like, "I saw your 31 review." I'd be like, "Oh, fuck. I'm sorry."
It is kind of odd because I think sometimes when you get in front of the camera, like certain things just sort of come out, or you think something will be funny. Like there are plenty of times when I'm editing and I'm like, why did I say that? Like that just doesn't work the way I thought it would. Like delete,
Yeah.
even just some sort of joke where it's like, that just didn't really land the way I'm not as charming as I thought I was there. So I'm just going to get rid of that. But yeah,
Mhm.
Chucky is like, after the Chucky sort of turns into a little bit of the Star Trek thing where it's like every other movie at a certain point is like
Mhm.
there's a good one, bad one, good one, bad one. I haven't even watched the TV show because I don't know how you are about like TV in general. TV to me just seems like an incredible waste of time. Like the first 5 minutes are exciting, the last 5 minutes are exciting. I feel like the rest of the shows are usually just filler and they end on something that makes you want to watch the next episode. So it's like television shows to me are just like a commercial for the next episode and you're waiting for like the payoff at the end of the season, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
I just like film to me is the best visual storytelling medium, you know?
I love a good TV show. I think there's some really good examples out there, but Chucky would not be one of them for in my opinion. I was surprised by the first season. I liked the first season quite a bit, but I really did not like season 2, and season 3 was kind of like halfway between for me. So it has not worked overall. But yeah, everything up to Bride of Chucky is gold for me. I love those first 4 films, and then after that, like you said, it's basically every other one.
Yeah, and I know you're a big Chucky guy, and that was one of the first ones that got me when I was little. Like I was in 3rd grade and I was like, I want a My Buddy doll. Like I asked for one for Christmas because I'd seen Child's Play that year. It was like 1990. So it was like, you know, I was a couple years late, but I was, you know, 8 years old or whatever. And I watched it at a friend's house and was just completely enamored with this killer doll.
Yeah, I wanted one my entire childhood. It was a bucket list item for me, and then eventually I got mine right there.
There you go.
Which technically that's the Seed of Chucky model, but it looks exactly the same as Bride of Chucky, so I just pretend it's Bride of Chucky. But yeah, I remember it was when I had a really, really good month, and I spent $600 on that, and it was worth every penny to me. But when my wife found out how much it was, she's like, "Are you fucking nuts?" I was like, "I need it. It needs to be here."
Yeah, I need this.
Yes.
We're gonna go take a nap together.
Yep.
So, do you have anything, anything big planned other than taking a big old nap here and getting over your festival flu?
Yeah, hopefully I get over it soon because I have another big trip planned by the about the 3rd week of this month, going to Austin, Texas for the Fantastic Fest, which is an 8-day film festival. They're premiering Terrifier 3 there. Alexander Aja's new film. There's going to be a number of secret screenings, and I'm hearing whispers that maybe Nosferatu will be one of them. So it's a film festival I've been to the last 2 years. Really looking forward to that one. And then I'm also, per the topic of tonight, there's an opportunity that was kind of laid at my feet live in front of you whenever we were sitting there at the bar. And
no way.
Yeah, and Rob Zombie's bassist invited me to come to a show. So the day before the film festival starts, I'm going to go meet Rob Zombie and probably Alice Cooper too, since they're touring together and all the band members, and it's going to be kind of wild. So
is that out in Austin, or are you doing that back home before you fly out?
No, it's going to be in Dallas. So they have a couple of shows that are near us. But they were during like the middle of the week, and it would have been very difficult to kind of figure out how to get there. And so it ended up just kind of lining up perfect where the day that after I get to Texas, where there's like a day where we were just going to take to kind of plan out the festival and kind of chill out before it starts. That ended up being the day that the show was in Dallas, which is like 2 hours away from where I'm staying. So it worked out perfectly.
Hell yeah. I can't wait to DM him your 31 review before that show. So just remind me.
I'm probably going to make it unlisted. That was the first question I asked. I was talking with Blasco, who's his bass player. And I was like, is this a trap? Am I going to get like jumped as soon as I get there? He's like, no.
You're probably way bigger than Rob Zombie because, you know, that's one of the things that's really difficult to tell about people on YouTube. Everyone in the chat is you have no idea until you meet somebody. I had met Darren and Frank from the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast at age 45. I thought Frank was going to be like 6'4". Turns out he's more like 5'10", and Darren was the one that was 6'3". And then meeting Cody, I was like, damn, dude, you're tall. In fact, I'm not even that short of a guy. I'm about, 6 foot, but hanging out with you and Robert the Wolfman and Cecil, I'm like, Jesus, I was getting, I think what I told you guys, like, I'm getting angry. I understand what shorter people go through because I'm already feeling angrier just because I'm shorter than you guys.
Yeah.
It's a rarity, only when I'm hanging out with basketball players.
It's something that I hear every time I do like any kind of public thing. Like I probably heard it 17 times last weekend where they're like, you're taller than I thought. And I was like, yep, everybody says that.
That makes me so happy that it was like the first thing I said to you. Just basic bitch Davey. Just, just, you're like, I'm gonna be on this guy's fucking show. All right, cancel. Well, sweet, man. And then you're gonna be doing, I would imagine, for October, you guys doing more 31 on 31 for that, or you guys got something big planned there?
Yeah, so we kind of announced the theme at the end of our latest debrief, and we're just kind of focusing on modern horror directors. So Ari Aster, Jordan Peele, James Wan, a bunch of new guys, and so we're gonna have 31 films that are all fairly recent, and we actually have 7 of them that were released this year, between Maxine and Long Legs and a number of others.
Mhm.
So it's going to be pretty interesting. A lot of really good movies, but very different, and kind of leaning into that. A number of them leaning into like that elevated horror side of things. Plus Terrifier 3 is going to be coming out, and that's going to make its way on there. So I finally found a way to make Brian Lomax watch the Terrifier films. So don't be
Yeah.
surprised if all 3 of those are his 31 through 29. But
Well,
it should
because
be
it sounds
fun.
like he's a bit of a religious cat.
Very.
And so that's always interesting to me because, I grew up in a religious home. I consider myself a God-fearing man. I'm not going to knock on your door. I'm not going to try to convince anyone to like join my religion or whatever. I'll try to convince you to watch Rob Zombie's Halloween too. But as far as that other stuff goes, to me, it's like very personal,
Mhm.
something that people should sort of come to on their own. So it is fascinating because it's like I'm kind of the mind where it's like, hey, well, I believe in God. I also believe that God gave these people their gifts. So if Damian Leone's gift is like making, whatever Terrifier is, which I think is very entertaining, I'm sort of like, well, hey, more power
Mhm.
to him. It to me, it doesn't seem like it's being used for evil. I'm curious to know if Brian's viewpoints, if there's any sort of sway there, or any sort of like, it does seem like good fun. Because I think by Terrifier 2, like I feel like Terrifier 2 is having a good time. That's just a wild thing to say. But compared to the first film, like I think it's far more fun loving if Terrifier can be such a thing.
I would agree. He did not have fun with it whatsoever. I think he's at the point where past a certain point, like the brutality is just kind of
Mm,
sickening for him.
too
So
much.
I don't
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see him changing his tune by the 3rd film. And I'm hoping they lean a lot more into the Santa Claus Christmas stuff versus
Yeah.
any kind of Christian imagery, because otherwise, woohoo, I'm gonna
Oh
hear about it.
yeah. We're
But
probably gonna get some of that. I mean, why they're gonna
uh
do it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I-
So it's gonna be interesting to kind of hear his thoughts. I always appreciate it. It's very different than mine, but that's what I like to hear. I like to have everybody
yeah.
that's, my group that we have in All Top Streamers so different that like we just did the comedy 31 on 31 and nobody agreed on anything for the first time. Like there was
Yeah.
no movies that we were all even close with.
Comedy's an interesting thing like that.
Yeah.
It's cultural, it's generational, yeah, it's some things just don't make sense in that way, or you grew up watching it. Like I'm a bit like UHF is one of my favorite comedies, and then some people are just like, oh, I can't stand Weird Al, and I'm like, well, I don't know how you live because it's
Yeah.
just so silly and fun. But yeah, that can be a tough one. I heard you talking about Anchorman on that one, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Like I really enjoy Anchorman, but I guess if you hear all the catchphrases just said by bros for 20 years and then you watch the movie, yeah, it's probably gonna have a lesser impact. Like an
Mhm.
experience that I had with a movie that everyone seems to love. I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I was watching it with somebody that I was dating at the time, and one of her guy friends who was like so pumped on it. It was my first time seeing it, and he was like pre-laughing at every joke. And at
Ah,
the end of I was just like, I couldn't stand it. I was like, I had a terrible time watching that movie because he was
ah.
totally killing my boner every time something was about to happen. He's like, oh, and I'm just like, dude,
I
like,
hate
can you
that,
please
and I
leave?
hate the people that love a movie and they have to say every line that they like. That drives me
Yeah,
nuts too. Even if it's a movie that I've seen before, I get under my son about that. I'll do it once in a while with like one line. I pick one line per movie usually where I'm like, I can't help it. I gotta say this. But I get under my son about that sometimes where he'll be standing behind me and he'll be like saying the lines behind me. And I'm like, fucking stop. Hate that.
yeah. I'm a professional. Stop this.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, that one line in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is Jeff Daniel Phillips saying, "Don't give me no reason." That's just, I don't
Mhm.
know what it is about that line. To me, it just like I hear angels. I can't not think about it every time I think about that movie. But I'm one of those guys, like I have 4 older siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and I tell you what, like my brothers and I, like sometimes we just talk in movie quotes. It's like Chevy Chase movies, you
Yes.
know. It's just like, and that's just kind of the way it is. We, Christmas vacation quotes just in regular conversation any time of the year. It makes
Mhm.
0 sense, but I guess that's just maybe one of the ways that that dudes bond, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially movie fans. It's like a
Oh
language in and
yeah,
of itself.
exactly. Yeah. And then we've got, I like this one. Some neat Niran Kari says, Cody, how does it feel knowing that you are famous? Look at that.
I don't know. It
I had to put
I'll
you on the
probably
spot with that
in
one.
my head, I'm probably never gonna think I'm famous. It doesn't matter how many opportunities are laid at my feet that would say the otherwise, but, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing for sure to even have this a comment saying that. I'm like, "Am I? I don't know."
Sure. Well,
Mhm,
but it's got to be, it's one of those things where it's like, you worked so hard putting this all together, and really at the end of the day, it's like you're being yourself, and it resonates with people. I think that's one of the really cool things about YouTube versus any other kind of entertainment or like show business, if that's what you want to call it, is
mhm,
that it really is just, there's something about like your personality clicks with people. I watch a whole bunch of different stuff on YouTube. So like I watch, there's this guy Tom Grossi that does sports stuff. He's a big Packers fan. He has like a million subs, and he's just like this regular charming guy. Like,
mhm,
there's nothing, like it's not too frill heavy. It's just that people are like, I like this guy. I'm
mhm,
gonna watch him, and it's like, I think that's one of those things where it's like, you go into something like YouTube with the intention of expressing yourself, and it's just icing on the cake if it ends up being something you can do to supplement your living, or something, in your case, that you can do for a living.
mhm.
And I think it's really encouraging. It's, one of the reasons why the Terror Trader folks brought you out to Gathering the Ghouls out here, so you could talk about, how to get your YouTube channel kind of going. Do a panel and just sort of rub shoulders with people,
Yeah.
and be there as the guy. I mean, it's it's really cool to see, man. I mean, I don't know what your sub count was when I started watching you, but it's really cool just to be like, oh, this guy's just, it keeps on growing, And then a whole bunch of other channels that I really enjoy, where it just seems like it's this snowball effect. It's like once you get to this certain point, if you keep it rolling, it just keeps on going, and
Mhm.
you find and connect with your audience. I mean, shit you not, like usually if I have like 30 people in a stream, that's like a really good one, and we've crossed like 50 to 60 here
Nice.
with you on the show. So it's really encouraging and really sweet of the people that enjoy what you do at your channel, that they're willing to come on over here and check out our conversation, and give us a shot. So hell yeah, man.
That's what
um
I like about my audience is that for the most part, they're all pretty willing to follow me over to new channels. You don't see that a lot. You see a lot of people that are very devoted to the one
yeah.
channel, and I've always kind of taken pride in that, where if I promote somebody else or if I guest on somebody else, they'll follow suit. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that's really cool about YouTube, that I haven't ran into this yet, where I don't feel like I've ever been big timed by anyone. Like that, I've got this tiny little channel, and it's like, hey, I want to talk to you about, a little bit about what you do, but maybe something else. And everyone's been like really gracious, even if schedules don't line up. Everyone's been really cool about finding something that works. And coming from the music side of things, where people were just so cutthroat, and
Mhm.
what can you do for me, and then I'll never return the favor, so to speak. It's just really, encouraging to see that here on YouTube. And yeah, man, it's what better way to be able to provide for your family and express yourself than do something like this. So
Yep,
hell yeah.
exactly.
One thing before we let you go, just want to be sensitive to your time. I want you to be
Mhm.
able to get to your sweet ass bamboo sheets. I gotta look this up. Feel free to drop the commercial here if you want. uh, but I'm always interested to know, especially for horror fans, like, is there you know, if you had to pick like maybe a really standout horror film, maybe a slasher film or something that never got a sequel. Maybe it got a remake, but it never like kicked off into a series, you know, something like The Burning or The Prowler or My Bloody Valentine, something like that. Is there something within that realm of horror where you're like, man, I really would like to see either that tried again and like modernized, or I would have loved to have seen this turn into a series of films.
I've always thought it would be really cool to see somebody in the metal community take on Trick or Treat from 1986 and do like a modern version of that, whether it be a sequel. I think a sequel would be fun where, for those that haven't seen it, you have this rock star that dies and his last recording on this vinyl demo. When this kid who's like his number one fan plays it backwards, he's able to speak to this artist from beyond the dead, and he kind of like helps him get back at his bullies, and then things
Yeah.
turn sinister. It's a very cool movie, especially if you're a metalhead, because there's a lot in it that kind of speaks to all of that. And the best movie soundtrack of all time, in my opinion. But I would like to see like somebody like Corey Taylor or somebody like that, or
Mm.
maybe I think even Clown in his in Slipknot is actually somebody who's directed a number of music videos. Like, see somebody like that take it and do some modern version of it, where a modern teenager who's really into throwback vinyl and really into the 80s metal, like goes to a record store and like underneath the shelf finds that demo
Yeah.
and something cool. I think there's a really fun way that you could do that in modern times where, um, have some new rock star, like I said, like a Corey Taylor, play the villain in it and
Yeah.
do that whole thing again and get them to re-record some of the Fastway tracks from the original soundtrack. That's like a dream project for me to see happen. If I ever meet Corey Taylor or somebody like that, or like shit, I might even bring it up to Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, but like, Rob, I'd like to see you do
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that would be really cool, especially because, yeah, you know, for a teenager to be into vinyl, because I know vinyl's had a resurgence, but it would sort of be something where people, of that age might be like, "What the hell are you doing, wasting your time with that old shit, that old
Mhm.
vinyl?"
Yeah.
In the age of TikToks, which I'm way too old for. I don't even understand what the heck it is. I have a tough time with it, but yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Bringing something like that back, that whole kind of like treasure hunt kind of vibe of finding this sort of relic,
Mhm.
that would be really fun. Yeah, I like that. I think you should have that conversation when you meet Rob. Don't talk about the 31 review. Talk
No.
about this one. This is the yeah, there you go.
I saw your anyway, I have this, idea for Trick or Treat.
And yeah, it's been a while since, what was the last thing Rob directed?
The Munsters.
Oh God, I skipped that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't a
I don't
fan.
know.
I had
I
high hopes
really
for it. I was like, "This
I
might be the one," and
yeah.
it wasn't.
I love the old TV show. I just gotta say, and I don't even think Sherry Moon Zombie is the worst actress, but like in that role, I was just like, I don't understand why she's talking the way she's talking. Like, to me, that's not really a Munsters vibe that I was really picking up from what he was putting down.
Yeah, it didn't work for me at all. It was heartbreaking. I figured if anything, that would be like the perfect thing for him, see him not do something rated R and really tap
Yeah.
into something that he loves, and
Hmm.
nope.
No. Yeah. Unfortunate. He'll never recover until he comes back to Halloween to do a follow-up with Scout. It's going to be the legacy sequel with Scout Taylor Compton. Now she's directing. So everyone's taken off in different directions.
There you go.
Well, hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this is a good time to, let you go and have a little Robitussin, little something for the throat, little
Mhm.
cough drop. I saw you have your Verners. That's a good remedy right there. So
Yep,
you know
this was,
what's up.
one of those old grandma
Yeah.
remedies, the cure-all that you have. It's really hard to find down here, but, there's one store that sells it, so my family only buys it when we're sick.
Saltines and ginger ale.
Yep,
It's like a tried and true. It sometimes, like back when I was a kid, it was like anytime I drank Sprite, it always made me think of being sick because that's what
yep,
my mom gave me when I was sick.
yep.
I could just never hang. Well, yeah, thank you so much again, Cody. Everyone that's here, if you're not already subbed to Cody, what the hell are you doing? I got the links in the description below, so you know where to go. Not that he needs my help, but I'll be that guy. And check out the bamboo sheets. You gotta check out the bamboo sheets. I'm gonna look into them myself. Maybe you got a little promo code or something like that.
Yeah.
Hope you have a killer time. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll have one. I haven't put the video out yet. This was a conversation we had before we went live, for those that aren't getting the joke. But yeah, I'll have a promo code.
Well, and it's great because I learn about all sorts of stuff like, oh, there's a club for trying out colognes. Oh, there's a way to not smell so much because I live in the desert. And so stuff gets stinky no matter what the hell you do. It's just brutal. It was like 110 today. It's just, it's 94 right now and it's 8:30 at night. So,
gross.
You were just here.
Yeah, it was different for sure.
Yeah.
Constant.
So yeah, guys. Yeah. Check out the links in the description below. Cody, I hope you have a great time out there in Austin. I can't imagine it's going to be a bad time by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully the Rob Zombie experience is really cool too. That's got to be a blast. So congrats on that. And yeah, we'll just continue to follow you as you go into the spooky season. And yeah, man, not like you need it, but best of luck in the future. I hope you're well. And that your family has a great rest of 2024. And perhaps our paths will cross again sometime in the future.
Thanks, man. I'm sure they will, for sure. I highly doubt I won't be back in Phoenix for that Gathering of the Ghouls next year. So if nothing else, we'll see you there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. You as well.
Thanks. Take care. All right, everyone. Holy cow. Cody Leach. There it was, people. There it was. What a friggin' night. Oh my gosh. I'm still, it's sometimes it's like, after you have an interview, even during the interview, it sort of feels surreal a little bit in the moment, just, regardless of who you're talking to, but certainly tonight, it's a big night, when Cody and I had spoke about, or, just DM'd about him coming on the show, I was like, oh, well, the Rob Zombie Halloween 2 15th anniversary is coming up. This is the perfect time because I knew he was a big fan. He's one of the first people within the YouTube space that I ever ran into, ran across rather, that I knew was a big fan of this one. So really cool to have him come and celebrate the 15th anniversary of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I honestly, guys, if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you're feeling a little iffy on it, I think you should give it another shot. And yeah, you guys are amazing for hanging out here in the chat. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss, because we had all sorts of like new members. It looks like Happy Sanjo re-upped his membership. The Twisted Locker guys re-upped theirs as well. Happy Sanjo gifted one, and that must have been the one that went to Dice. That's awesome. Dark Room Reviews dropped this super sticker, which is really cool. We got Erica as a new member. Happy Sanjo gifted another membership. All right. Jared Arnold became a member as well. And really appreciate the super chats there from you, Lee B Films. That's super awesome. Yeah, guys, what are you getting into for the rest of the week? I always like to hang out with you all here, before we say our goodbyes. And of course, we got Jamie there, our Death Squad mod, dropping the link for Cody's channel so you guys can go give him a sub as well. Oh, yeah. No, Cody is an absolute dude. Kicking it with him the other night at the convention was super cool, just to be able to hang and talk about whatever. The conversation just stretched kind of all over the place that night. It was great. You have a beer or two and you start saying things where you're like, oh gosh, I hope that didn't rub people the wrong way. But I think that within this sort of community we have, like you feel like you can just sort of let go a little bit, which was definitely nice. 121 votes. Raymond Malaber reminding me here. Let's check the poll. All right. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Rob Zombie's Halloween 2? So, wow, 42% out of 122 votes, 42% say misunderstood masterpiece. I'm kind of surprised there. Only 14% say total trash. And then 44% say, don't love it, don't hate it. I think that's fair. I thought there was going to be a lot more people hating on this one, but maybe we're seeing, like we saw with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, a little bit of that. Once you're removed further from a film, you can sort of gain some appreciation for it, of course. And then yeah, I mean, even if you don't love it, don't hate it, I think that's a pretty fair assessment as well. I'm not going to browbeat anyone for not liking what I like. Absolutely. um Fantasy football season is upon us, says Big Rod. Yeah, man, I would love to talk sports on this channel, but I feel like if I do, YouTube is going to punish me for getting too out of my own lane. But I know Fachi's got a sports channel, so maybe he and I can do something. I know Frank's Media and Reviews, he was in the chat earlier. He does a little bit of a sports thing. I think he's got his own channel. Brett and Brad over at Good Real Hunting have got beers with the bros where they talk about sports. So I don't want to impose, but Brett or Brad, if you're listening, I'd love to pop on the show and talk some football with you. I am a massive football fan, so I could talk about it all day. I could talk about football the way that I talk about movies. I think that's one of those things. I'm not a jack of all trades. I'm just a nerd of all trades, and so my mind is always thinking about like 5 or 6 things at the same time in a really, really nerdy fashion. And we got Paula Fitzhenry visiting, one of our new subs. How are you doing, Paula? Great to see you again. No worries. If you're feeling like you're late, you can always just sort of scrub back if you'd like to check out the interview, of course. Paula is new to the channel. She came in and checked out the Killjoy Jake interview last week, which was a total blast, really fun. And maybe you guys will see me pop over there on his channel at some point. I'm not sure. I didn't even know that he has guests on, but he had sort of mentioned in passing that it could be fun to have a little appearance over there. So, hey, you never know. Jamie says, Cody is a great guest. It's easy to talk to people who know their stuff. Cody knows his stuff. Well, that is certainly true. Yeah, I think, and even though we got to hang out, like there's always a certain amount of nerves that come with hosting the show. And maybe that's just like, my lot in life if I want to be a host, right? Is there's just going to be those butterflies, that little bit of like healthy anxiety, I guess, that sort of hopefully it works in your favor more than it works against your favor. But yeah, I mean, having somebody like Cody on here who, yeah, absolutely, like you say, Jamie, knows his stuff, makes it so much easier to have that conversation and go back and forth. Yeah. Raymond says, watching Fletch tomorrow and A Quiet Place day 1 on Saturday. Raymond, I love Fletch. It is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think it's, man, as far as Chevy Chase goes, to me, it's like The First Vacation, Fletch, and Caddyshack are pretty untouchable for me. I mean, there's something about his cadence and his delivery that is just unmatched. I know that he has all sorts of, he had some issues when he was on Community and all that kind of stuff. I feel like he's sort of, reflected on that and seems to has a different, kind of personality now, maybe because of that. I follow him on socials and he seems like really sweet and really appreciative of the fans. So, every now and then, sometimes you go to a dark place and people sort of wake you up from it and you come out better than you were before. And it certainly seems that that's the case with Chevy. I think he's one of the most gifted comedic actors that we've ever seen. Raymond is don't love it, don't hate it with Halloween 2. Yeah. No, I hear you, Raymond. I'm pumped that you checked it out and that you appreciated it more. I think that's the goal here with this 15th anniversary, is just to take another look at it, to celebrate it. From my point of view, it's about celebrating it because I love the film. And then, of course, just like letting people sort of see that there is that love. And this isn't like there's no shame in loving it. No, it's not about that. It's like, hey, I love it, and here's why I love it. And then, especially with the case of bringing Cody in here, it's like, and we can also talk, honestly about the things that don't really work for us. I think that's something that's like really important, that a lot of people maybe not a lot of people, but maybe like within the way we talk about things, the way that things are discussed, like in a social way, is like, if you like something, you either like it 100%. Or if you don't like something, you don't like it 100%. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, man, for example, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But man, there's like, a season or two that really don't really match up to how good the rest of the seasons are. There's certain things like, why does Buffy always have to have a love interest? There's certain things that just sort of irk me as I watch through the show, but I still really love the show. I think it's one of the best I've ever seen. So I think that's, sort of reflecting on something like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 as an opportunity to talk about what we love and then have an honest conversation about what doesn't work, for sure. T. Parker says, I watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 once every October for the past 15 years, and I just can't get into the film. Even though I've listened to his commentary and other YouTubers' deep dives, it's just not for me. Well, and that's totally fair. I think that, and it's really cool that you still watch it. I feel, man, I talk about it too. Like, I watch Halloween 5 every year. I really don't like Halloween 5. Like, God bless it. I try to, but I'm always falling asleep by the time that they have the car chase through the woods. And they're even Resurrection. Like, I might not sit down and watch Halloween 5 and Halloween Resurrection, but like, I'll put one of them on while I'm doing some chores or, something like that, just because there's just something comforting about it. You know what I mean? Like the whole comfort of a slasher series. Like we've talked about that with Friday the 13th. I think it's one of the biggest like comfort series out there for sure. Paula says, I was over on the Night Watch Zone and Craven's channel. Hell yeah. Well, that's awesome that there's things going on Wednesday night, Paula. When I originally conceived the idea of the show, I was like, I just don't see many lives on Wednesday night that are regular. So I wanted to do something that was just, a little bit of my own thing, try to carve out my own spot there and yeah, do something really fun on a weeknight. Brendan says Collector and Collection are underrated horror movies. What do you think? You know what, Brendan? I haven't seen either one. Oh, I hate admitting that when I haven't seen a movie, but I gotta be honest with you guys. And I haven't seen it, not for any real reason. It's just that I haven't seen it or haven't seen them. So I know that they're written by, it's a duo. It's what is it, Dunstan and what's the other guy's name? And they've written some of the Saw movies. And I think, what are they working on? I know they're working on The Collected, but I heard that they were working on another. I don't know if it's a slasher, some other franchise that's. Are they working on the new Scream? No, that's the same team that wrote for Radio Silence, and then Kevin Williamson's coming in. But yeah, the Collector and Collection, I've got to watch them. They look like they're up my alley. So yeah, I've got to check them out. Brendan, feel free. The links for my socials are in the description below. So I don't forget, feel free to hit me up with a DM, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and drop that suggestion. And then guys, if you're watching this after the fact, jump into the comments and, tell me how good the Collector and the Collection are and what I'm missing out on. Hell yeah, Jared. Thank you so much for dropping by, man. I saw you had commented on one of my videos earlier, and I was so busy with work, and I always try to get to every comment whenever I can, but busy day at work and then prepping for the show and everything. So you will see a response there. And I think I saw that you had followed me on Twitter, which is amazing because nobody follows me on Twitter except for the sex bots. Paula says, I loved A Quiet Place Day One. You know what? Those are movies. I've never seen any of those Quiet Place movies either. Yes, and Jamie, our Death Squad mod, says, don't forget to slash, smash, and trash that like button. Subscribe to the channel and join the Death Squad. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. Yes, and share it with somebody that you think would enjoy this conversation. Share it with the Halloween 2 lover in your life, or maybe you're a Halloween 2 lover and you've got someone in your life that doesn't quite appreciate it. Maybe this conversation will stoke the flames, maybe invigorate them a little bit and make them want to watch it with you this spooky season. 68 likes. That's massive. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Really appreciate the update. Erica says, just watched Day One last night. I saw it in the movie theater too. Team Frodo forever. Is that the name of the cat? Tyler says, I need to rewatch Fletch. A couple decades may have passed since I last watched. Dude, Kate and I watch it like, I'm not even kidding, Tyler, 3 or 4 times a year. Like the last 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 times a year. Anytime we want something that's easy to watch, like we put on Fletch. It goes by like that. Chevy is charming. I mean, the most charming he's ever been, I think, in Fletch, and probably the most handsome too. So I think it works on all sorts of levels. Frodo! Pilaf Ross, welcome to the chat, Pilaf Ross. Everybody make Pilaf feel welcome here. Says Chevy Chase as the side character in Dirty Work has me in tears whenever I watch that film. Yeah, Dr. Farthing. I love it. Was your father a famous athlete? Oh, he was a boxer, but he wasn't famous. Oh, no heart there. What do you say I take this check and don't go to my bookie? No, you're going straight to your bookie because you want to live. And then I think my favorite line in there is when he says, what I don't understand is, say you owe a bookie $50,000 and they, you know, break your leg. You still owe them the money. I just don't get. And let's see here. I liked Halloween 2. Hell yeah, Paula. Brendan says, what horror movie, standalone or franchise would you want to see a new movie from? And Brendan, I forgot it last time on your collector comment. Everybody, welcome Brendan to the chat, because I believe this is your first time hanging out with the channel, folks here. The horror movie, standalone or franchise I want to see a new movie from. Ooh, this is really fun. And Brendan, this is a great question to ask as a new person in the chat. I talk about this every now and then on the channel. I friggin' love The Prowler from 1981, the Joseph Zito film with the Tom Savini effects. I do think, admittedly, the film has slow moments. Maybe I'm romanticizing it a little bit, but I love the look of the film. I really love the kills. I think, Tom Savini's kills are always great. And here they do a great job. I can totally see why, the Mancusos wanted to have Joseph Zito direct Friday the 13th, the final chapter, because what he does in The Prowler is amazing. Like, it is really, really solid work. I love the look of The Prowler, and I really love slasher whodunit revenge stories like My Bloody Valentine. Of course, Scream. Gotta love. I mean, I love Scream. The original. The first four I really love. I actually think the fourth Scream is the best sequel out of the bunch. So yeah, I would love to see something like The Prowler. I know that Blumhouse, I think it was Blumhouse, got My Bloody Valentine. I'm curious to see what they do with that. I think it's a shame that the original My Bloody Valentine didn't have a sequel, because at the end, Axel's running into the cave. He's lost his arm. And I just thought that it would have been really cool to continue that kind of story. And then what's the other? Oh, Thanksgiving, which just recently came out. I thought it was such a great love letter to movies like The Prowler and My Bloody Valentine. I really loved Thanksgiving, and I'm not saying that it's out there, breaking new ground or anything like that, but I love seeing a movie that's basically like, it's almost like a homework assignment. Like Eli Roth was like, I love The Prowler and My Bloody Valentine, and this is going to be my class project. It's going to be A friggin' plus, because Thanksgiving, each kill is different. There's a different implement of destruction. All right. And the humor in the movie was great. I thought that the young cast was a really nice mix. They felt like friends. I think that's like one of those things about that movie. It's sort of unquantifiable. It's tough to talk about chemistry in a way that's like really meaningful. I mean, really all you can say is they feel like friends. And so, yeah, that's kind of like, I would love to see one of those older, whodunit revenge slashers come on back. I think a remake of The Prowler could be amazing, right? Because in the original Prowler, I don't know if you've seen it, Brendan. I would imagine perhaps you have, but it's like there's World War II, so it's like this guy got broken up with during World War II, and then here we are like 30 years later, and they bring back the dance, and there's all the killings and everything. So in our modern world, you could do that with like the Iraqi or Afghan soldier that's come back, right? So you could set the beginning of the film to take place about 24 years ago, 23 years ago, not long after the World Trade Center attacks. So it's like you have this a troop that gets left by his lover or his wife while he's overseas, and then you can make it modern and have the film take place now and do that whodunit revenge kind of thing. Could be really cool. Could be really cool. Boom, look at this. Nicholas says, I used to be in a very bad place too, but this community has helped me. That's awesome, Nicholas. I see you in all sorts of people's chats, and it's really cool to be able to find support and just like camaraderie. And I think that's just feeling like you belong is something that every person deserves, right? Like, I don't think I'm saying anything controversial. I think everybody, no matter you know, who you are, or what you believe, and all that kind of stuff. Like, everybody wants to feel like they belong. And I can certainly, that resonates with me, Nicholas, because there are so many times where, I'm going through a tough time or something, and it's really nice to jump in, hop on a stream, get to hang out with you guys, and sort of, be able to forget all of that a little bit, lean into more of the positivity. And of course, there are serious things in life, that have to be dealt with for sure. But I feel like hanging out with you guys is a healthy escape. And I think that's like one of those things that's important, is like find an escape, but an escape that is healthy, right? Playing video games, I always say that's a healthy escape. If I can sit down and play some Castlevania or some Resident Evil 4, I feel so much better after. Boom, there you go. Yeah, checking out Fletch because I had suggested it. I hope you dig it. I think if you like that Chevy Chase kind of humor, I think you'll have a good time, Raymond. Yeah, Buffy rules, Robert. Absolutely. They need to bring that back. I'd love to see Buffy. I mean, at this point, you could do a legacy film and have Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, and maybe she passes on, her abilities. Like, I mean, maybe her character literally does pass on in the film, and we get to see that passing of the torch. And they could flip it. They could have you know, we could have, who knows who the next Slayer could be. I mean, I guess Slayers they are always women though, right? I think that's the thing. That's crazy, Nicholas. And you got everyone that's sticking around. I do want to just say, my normal crew that's here, usually about 20 to 25 people. It's amazing. They show up for pretty much every stream. We do watch parties here. So, we watch movies together. We watch Tales from the Crypt episodes together. I usually like to hang out with everyone at least once a week, even if we're just doing a Q&A and chit-chatting. And then, yeah, guys, especially if you're new here, every Wednesday we hop on for late night with the Davey. So every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, we have a new guest. I've got September all the way booked. So we're going to have that horror couple is coming on. They have a great YouTube channel. They're a really fun couple. And then we've got Jared Bankins, who was in the Twisted Metal TV show. And he's the person that I want to see play Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's the same age that Robert was when he started. He's a really great actor that's not a household name like Bill Skarsgård. And I just think he's got the look and the ability. The character that he plays in Twisted Metal just unlocked something in my mind where I was like, I want to see that guy play Freddy. So if you guys are new to the channel, you can hop on over to the video section once the stream is over here, and you can check out that video. Just look up Freddy Krueger on my channel, and you'll see that pop up where I make my case for Jared. And then after that, I've got Evan from Rockland Graves Productions. Really pumped to have Evan on. He is so smart, and just the way he talks about film is just really interesting. I can't wait to dive in to some topics with him. And then we've got Mel, who's part of the Rad Pack, and she also has My Killer podcast. So that's going to be our September. And man, I am on the verge of booking somebody for October that is one of the biggest YouTubers that I watch. And it's not a movie reviewer, and they don't talk about horror movies. They talk about sports, but I can't even believe that I got a message back from them like within the same day. I sent out, it was my Hail Mary. I'm just like, I'm gonna shoot for the stars, because at this point I want to bring in, like, I want to go for big guns every time. I want to, let's bring in some actors, let's bring in some directors. Let's crank it up a notch here on Late Night with the Davey. Let's make this a legit late night show. And a great way that can happen is if all of you that gave us a shot here while Cody was here, throw the channel a sub, hit the notification so you don't miss out. You can follow me on my socials. The links are in the description below. And then that way you won't miss out if there's somebody where you're like, ooh, I know that person. I watched that person on YouTube, or I saw a movie that guy was in. I want to go check him out on Late Night with the Davey. Or if you have no idea who they are and you're just curious to get to know them a little bit, I think that's another really cool thing about the platform of the show as well. So, so yeah, all the new people, really appreciate you hanging around, because I can't believe it, but we've got 50 people in here right now. So, you know, Cody was 100% right, because he left the stream and the thing didn't fall off, because, you know, he said you guys were great. So everyone that came over here because of Cody Leach and you're still hanging out, that's friggin' awesome. So welcome, welcome. I hope you come back. I hope you check out what we have here on the channel. This is the 16th episode of Late Night with the Davey. So, you know, you can check out all the older streams. And then even if you only want to watch the interviews, I cut out the interviews the week after the show and I post them. So you can just watch the part where I've got the guest on the show. So you can sort of trim the fat, get to like the real meat of the show, and enjoy, you know. And then we also, man, we've got, you know, membership. So for 99 cents a month, you can become a member and get some exclusive content, which has really been a fun time. We just unlocked that recently. And I'm like less than, I think we're less than 130 away from hitting 1,000. So I'd love to be able to hit 1,000 before the end of September. I think that would be amazing to go into October with 1,000 subs, really hit the ground running on some awesome horror content and talk about some really, really fun shit with you guys. So thank you so much to everyone who's kicking it here with us. Yeah, there we go. Prince is giving me some new recommendations. I saw that come through, Prince, but been a busy day and just getting ready for the show and everything for sure. Collector's good. I should add it to the watch list. Hell yeah. If Jamie says it's good, then say no more. And then, yeah, Raymond, sorry, you had said something about, I think I'm going to see Airheads next week. I saw that one years ago. I watched it twice within the last couple weeks and I love that movie. Yep. And Pilaf Ross, it is the one with Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, but don't forget Steve Buscemi, Ernie Hudson, Michael Richards, Michael McKeon, Joe Mantegna, David Arquette, Chris Farley. Man, the list of people in that movie is just amazing. Amazing. And if you guys can hear a cat meowing, that's my buddy Cosmo, who just misses me so much. All right, let's see here. Raymond says, yeah, Pilaf, Davey talks about it a lot. I'm always talking about Airheads. Yeah, I've got a show called Movie Punks where I hang out with my buddy Foz Rotten out in West Virginia. And the idea is that we pick a movie once a month that we discuss that we feel has a punk rock edge. And it was Foz's birthday earlier in August, and he had picked Airheads, which certainly has a punk rock edge. God, I love that movie so much. I think, you know, I did the Rad 9 challenge. You know, the Rad Pack did the Rad 9 challenge of 1994 films. Airheads absolutely made the list. It wasn't necessarily what I think are the best movies of 1994, but the movies from 1994 that mean the most to me. So that was really fun to do. And another video you can check out here on the channel. I'll just keep on doing commercials for my own channel, right? I don't think the collector and collection are underrated. Just not enough exposure. Yeah, I think that's sort of, you know, that those seem a little synonymous. I get what you're saying there, Big Rod. Like the people that know about it really like it, but not everyone knows about it. Yeah. Pizza Rolls. Welcome to the chat, Pizza Rolls. Everybody say what's up to Pizza Rolls. Says this movie is underrated as hell. Easily top 5 in the Halloween franchise. Yeah, I think I've got Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 somewhere in the middle. But like in my top 5, I have all the David Gordon Green Halloween. So don't hate, but feel free to hate if you need to. I'll take all the Jim Carrey you got. I think he completely knocked it out of the park as Robotnik. I didn't expect much from the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, but man, I really have enjoyed both of them. I think I enjoyed the first one more because it had less of the human element in it. And I think the new one, I haven't watched a trailer, but it looks like it's looking good. I think Jim Carrey gives it his all. So I love Jim Carrey as a performer, and I'll take all the Jim Carrey you got. All right. Raymond follows me on Twitter. I follow you on Twitter, even though Twitter is toxic. Yeah, I know. I'm about to bail on it. RZH and RZH2 are hot, sick ass on a dead carcass. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the remake, Chad, and welcome to the chat. But I do really like his sequel for sure. Um, top 5 Oasis songs in light of their reunion. Well, they're all gonna be on What's the Story Morning Glory, and we can just like She's Electric, that's one of them. Hello, that's another one. I like Champagne Supernova. I'm trying to think of other Don't Look Back in Anger. And then I'm trying to think of another song off that. I do really like that What's the Story Morning Glory album. I hated Oasis when they were contemporary. Like when I was in high school and they were popping off, I really didn't get the music. But then listening to them in my 20s, I was like, ooh, I actually like this stuff. The cat is Frodo. That's how behind I am on the chat. You guys are amazing. I watch nothing but Trouble at least once a year, and of course the vacation films, especially Christmas Vacation. Yeah, Christmas Vacation's unbelievable. To me, I think it's right up there with the first Vacation. They're just like the same. I would say maybe I just like when I think about that early 80s era of Chevy, I just get super nostalgic, and he was just on a friggin' run, you know. Dirty Work is amazing. You were right, Chad. Yeah, talking about Dr. Farthing earlier. Yeah, Dirty Work is one of the best. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald, one of the funniest comedians I've ever seen. I mean, him doing the news on SNL changed the way I thought about comedy as a youngster. I'll tell you that. I tell you that. I can handle the toxicity though on my end. I found my girlfriend on there. There you go. I'm going to kind of skip ahead, see, just make sure I'm not missing on anything. Boom. Saves the Day is definitely an awesome recommendation. I'm glad you dig them, Prince. Saves the Day is one of my favorite bands of all time. I've seen them so much. Oh my gosh, I love Saves the Day, especially like the first, few records. And then even the trilogy that they did that's like Sound the Alarm, Under the Boards, and Daybreak. So those are 3 records, Prince, that are a trilogy. So once you get to Daybreak at the end of it, they have musical references to the other 2 records and also lyrical references. So it all comes back. They're 3 records. Like if you can listen to them all in one sitting, it's really, really fun and really rewarding. Raymond says Thanksgiving is going to have a sequel. Eli's taking his time to get the script right instead of rushing it. That's the best thing about Eli handling Thanksgiving. And I think that's the right way to go. I can wait till 2025. I'd rather have a good movie than just a movie. This is my enthusiasm at its finest. Hell yeah. No, you're fine, Prince. I love the enthusiasm. I'll take all you got, man. Saying what's up to Big Rod. Love it. Let me skip ahead here. Brendan says I watched The Prowler a few years ago and enjoyed the special effects, and I think it would be perfect for a modern day revamp. Yeah, hell yeah. Maybe I'm on to something here with The Prowler. Yeah, would be fun. I do want to rewatch When a Stranger Calls, the reboot. I never saw the remake when it came out. I've seen the original and I've seen the sequel to the original, but I've never seen the remake. I remember the swimming pool scene in The Prowler, but never remembered the movie. Yeah, I think The Prowler, there's just some moments where you're like, okay, there's some, people walking around scenes that feel like they drag a little bit. But I think there's what's there is really, really good. And that's why I think it would be great to see it come back. Because I think that you could do something like The Prowler. It's not sacred. And I think you could do it better than I think you could outdo the original, essentially. Thanksgiving did the Scream formula better than Scream 6, especially with the mystery, killer, reveal, motive, shocking opening, red herrings, and not afraid to kill off characters with names. Yeah. Yeah. Gina Gershon. Riley was a bummer on, but dude, that guy's the biggest nothing burger. The actor wasn't very good, and to me, he was just like a poor man's David Boreanaz. And no offense to David Boreanaz, I know the ladies love him, but the dude's a TV actor at best. That Valentine movie that he's in is just embarrassing. That's one of the worst movies I've like. That movie's really bad. I reviewed it during this last February, so if you want to see my thoughts on Valentine and watch me just tear into so much of what was wrong with that movie. Yeah, pretty bad. I know about Nancy Drew, but never ever dove in there. Let's see where we're at. Kevin Bacon would be, I think he would have been like 25 years ago. So I think that's the problem, Brendan. He's just way too old. Like, we want somebody that can play Freddy for 10 to 15 years. So check out my video on Jared Bankins. I think I can convince you. And if my video doesn't convince you, then hop on over to Peacock and watch the Twisted Metal TV series. He's in the first few episodes of that. And I think you'll understand kind of what I'm talking about the kind of character that he plays. And then he's in this movie called Off Ramp that's coming out on September 6th. So the week before he's going to be on the show, that movie releases. And it's about a couple of juggalos going to the gathering of the juggalos. And I don't know much about it, except for every review I've read has glowing praise for this movie. There are people that are like, I can't believe a movie about the gathering of the juggalos makes me want to be a better person, which I don't like. It just makes me so excited to see the movie, because I think that's one of the most amazing things and the most like transformative things about film is that, you know, a film can be about something that maybe you're not interested in or something that's not your world, but it can still profoundly affect you because of the story that's being told. Like, I think that's really cool, you know? Like A League of Their Own is about a bunch of women that play baseball during World War II. And I'll never know what that's like, but I love that movie and it's very like touching and uplifting. And so who knows? A movie about the gathering of the Juggalos could be the very same way for somebody that I have nothing against that whole world. But it's a world that I'm not in. Yeah, Mel has been so much fun to, you know, just shoot the shit with, you know, throwing DMs back and forth and everything. So, and she's hopped in the chat over here. I see her in chats on other channels and everything, and can't wait to actually sit down and have a talk with her. And Raymond concurs, and so does Prince. Boom. Tyler says, just rewatched The Crow 94 for the first time in 20 years. It's still unbelievably great. Yeah, it's got a really good look. I mean, it's no wonder to me that people still love this movie. Oh, yeah. And you know, really it's like it's all relative, Nicholas, as far as like, you know, you go through rough times and sometimes it's your own damn fault. And in my case, that's usually the way it is. So it's more so about like, how can I get myself out of this? What can I do to be better and make sure that this doesn't happen again? All that kind of stuff. So yeah. OG Crow is still epic, says Pilaf Ross. Some of the shots and how they utilize shadows definitely influence a ton of films afterwards. Yeah, and I even see some influence in the Crow from like Tim Burton's Batman. Just that whole like kind of gothic-y, comic booky world. Like it sort of looks like our world, but it's this exaggerated version. I think that's something that's definitely evident there in that first Crow movie for sure. Ooh, Erica saying what's up to the Ribbit. Boom. The Ribbit has like the best. Look at that icon. You got Killjoy Jake's surprised face there. And just you got a Bobo from you know, Double Dragon bod there. It's just amazing. Am I the only one that gets the Bobo reference? Let me know. Do you ever play Double Dragon? You ever play that as a kid? Love hanging out in chats where I feel welcome. It helps out my loneliness. Hell yeah, Raymond. Always welcome here. And you know what? Then when you're sitting there watching Fletch, just imagine that I'm right there with you, being like, hell yeah, and laughing at every damn joke, because I love that movie and I can't wait to hear what you think the next time we jump into a chat. Man, I haven't seen The Crow in so long that I totally forgot that Ernie Hudson was in it, but I do think he's a great actor. I love Ernie Hudson. Like, again, like Jim Carrey, I'll take all the Ernie Hudson you got. And he's like 70 something years old and he still just is like ripped to shit. Looks like he's, you know, 45. It's crazy. Gavin says, did we discuss how bad the new Crow movie is? I haven't seen it, Gavin. So I guess I'll reserve judgment until I see it, but I'll probably wait for that one. Going to the movies is really, really expensive. Oh, found the end of the drink. Jamie says, I'm so mad at myself for not doing the Rad Pack 94 challenge. I need to give myself a good swift kick in the boots. You did the Rad 9 movies that made me. We both did that one. Yeah, the Sonic movies are fun. Yeah. Yeah, Nicholas says the same thing. Haven't watched The Wire yet, Medley Man. Personal life's been pretty busy, but it's definitely on the list. In a world where tomatoes are rotten, one will be a golden one. Love what you love. I'm going to give The New Crow a decent rating. Pilaf Ross says the soundtracks of the Sonic films are great. Pantera out of nowhere was an awesome moment. I really like hearing like there's something about just hearing like Green Hill Zone sound, you know, like the actual music from the movies makes it really, really good for me too. Yeah. Rest in peace, Norm. Absolutely. What a guy. What an entertainer. There you go. Tyler's got some love for Saves the Day. Booyah. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? Should check out Summer of '84. It's a good psychological horror movie. Yeah, I've not seen that one. I got to check that out. Yeah. Pilaf Ross says, speaking of reboots, Edgar Wright is remaking Running Man. Oh, wow. All right. That could be really fun. And then Prince wants me to watch Totally Killer. There's no crying in baseball. The new Samara Weaving movie, Azrael, looks interesting. I just miss so many trailers. I need to catch up on like the movies that I know nothing about. I need to catch up on those trailers for sure. It's just like the movies that I already want to watch. I'm not like, I already want to watch Terrifier 3, so I'm not going to watch the trailer. Yeah, I saw that. The Akira bike slide. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I mean, I love Keanu, so I think that's a good cast for sure. Davey in chat, my sister wants to hang out and have a good night. And Davey, there's 76 likes. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Have a great night. Tell your sister what's up for everyone here in the chat. Really appreciate you hanging out. T. Parker says, I thought the new Crow film was good. Bill Skarsgård was amazing in the role, and I love the gore and the visuals. It was a fun time. I know Nick from the Lost River Drive-In, you know, who's a YouTube buddy of mine. He really enjoyed it as well. I think he gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. Still need to check out the other Terrifier movies. Number 3 looks promising. Lighting isn't the best. 3 movies in the cinematography is still like that. Yeah, I mean, they're relatively cheaply made films for sure. Favorite football team? I'm a Redskins fan, Brendan. Yeah, that's who I root for, and it's been pretty rough since the early 90s. Saw Fletch in the theater. Jeez, you saw everything in the theater, Jamie. Come on. Brendan says, I stopped watching trailers. I feel like they ruin movies now. Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, should we watch the trailer together right now, guys? Like, we have 45 people here in the chat. I can't just like say goodbye and hop off the stream with this many people. We never have 45 people hanging out watching something. So should I watch and do a live Terrifier 3 trailer reaction, go against everything that I just said, all of my beliefs about trailers, and just pop it on and see what happens? I don't know. I don't want them to copyright it. They'll probably copyright it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Erica wants me to do it. There we go. I'm down. Let's do it. Yes, says Erica. It's not that spoilery. All right. Yes, yes. Oh, do you think, are they going to copyright? I think they're pretty cool about, like, I think all they do is just say that, like, hey, this is ours, we own it. I don't think they ever like actually do a strike, you know? As someone who strongly dislikes the Terrifier films, I noticed the huge upgrade in the cinematography in Terrifier 3. Yeah, I think they seem to be just getting better and better. I thought the second film was, you know, fine. The lighting, Tyler, I wonder if that's just on purpose. Like they're kind of going for that grindhouse sort of look. Pull the trigger. Play the trailer and I'm peace out. So Necro's going to leave if we play the trailer. It spoils a bit of the ending, but only if you look hard enough. Well, I don't want to do that. Now we have 50 people. There's people chiming in. They're like, ooh, we saw something about Terrifier. Raven says, no, I don't want to see anything else till I see the movie. All right. All right. Should I just watch it without putting it on the screen? So I just watch it and let you guys know what I think and you guys don't see anything at all? Pilaf Ross wants me to watch it. Oh, geez. Am I going to succumb to the which kind of peer pressure am I going to succumb to? The people that are going to leave if I watch it? Or the brand new people here that are like, oh, come on, just watch it. It shouldn't get you in trouble, but it might. I've seen streams get taken down while watching trailers. Yeah, I did a trailer reaction for the one that dropped like a month ago. And they didn't like, there was no copyright strike. It was just like they just claimed that they owned it. So it didn't hurt me at all. It doesn't take away any of the views or public hours or anything like that. So yeah. I'm praying for Davey's soul, no strike. Yes, let us see your reaction. All right, all right. Jamie says, I say don't do it. Well, she's the mod. I guess I have to listen to her. If you just want a lifeless, watered down version of The Crow with bad acting and writing and are only there for one or two good action sequences at the end, then you'll be pleased. Oh, I have not seen Romulus yet, Brendan. I'm going to try to see it. We'll just, we'll see what happens. Watch it with the screen, and this will be your best live stream. I want to watch it, but also don't want to ruin it for people. Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you so much, Pilaf, for coming over from Cody's channel. Really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. I mean, the retention here since Cody left, like, I'm going to have to reach out to him and be like, you were totally right about your people, because everyone hung out with me and I sat there and talked for another hour with everyone, even though there's, you know, so many people that just probably had no idea that the channel existed before tonight. So, you know, that's one of the really cool things about, you know, having a show like this and having this kind of platform, is bringing in new people as guests, and then also seeing the audience grow. So yeah, guys, if you're brand new to the channel and you haven't subbed yet, why not just click that button, give us a shot. You know, if I can't keep you around forever, fair is fair, but just give me a shot, and let's see how quickly we can get to 1,000 subs, because I think we can get there really, really quick. I was just on a stream on Friday night over on Drum Dums talking about Halloween 2, and since then the sub count flew up. So I can only imagine after hanging out here with Cody, it could be crazy. Feel like it shouldn't be a copyright strike if it's on YouTube. Yeah, they won't strike me. They might just say like, hey, for this section, like, we claim this section. So yeah, the spoilery stuff is just stuff we already know, but more of it. I sort of like the lighting in Terrifier 3 to set up the Home Depot work lights in the other room. Yeah, for sure. My mod status doesn't mean to listen to me. It's merely a suggestion. There you go, Tyler. Jamie has spoken. No way, Davey. Oh, you're fun. You're fine. You're fun. You're fine. See, I'm typoing and I'm not even typing. Davey needs to get to 100 or 100,000 subs. Yes. 1K subs. He's a cool dude. Well, thank you so much, Raymond. I appreciate that. You got to put in the work. And you know what? Honestly, it's like, it'll happen. We'll get there. I'm going to keep on going. I love doing this. I love connecting with you guys in the audience. I love just being able to be myself. I feel like I'm hanging out with friends when I'm hanging out with you guys. I think you guys, every single stream makes me a little bit better at doing this. I find my voice a little bit more, and man, for my mental health, it's just massive what it does. Like, I cannot tell you guys enough. Not only do you fuel what we do here on the channel, as far as, you know, giving me the energy and the, you know, the enthusiasm to do what we do here, but just what it does for my day-to-day life it's amazing. I honestly, it's tough to put into words. Gavin says there's so many people in here. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Hell yeah. Everybody that's popping in the chat, welcome, welcome. And if you're subbing, extra welcome. And if you're becoming a channel member, like, whew, I'm going to send you a Christmas present. I'll send you a Terrifier 3 Art the Clown Christmas present, which means it'll come about 2.5 months early. Fachi says, brother, I missed you and Cody. Fuck me. It's okay. It's okay. You can always scroll back. You know what, Matt, when you're working tomorrow, I don't know, do you ever like listen to streams or listen to music like in an earbud or something when you're working? Yeah, go ahead and pop it on then. We talked a lot about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I know you're not a big fan, so but maybe we say a couple things in there that you'd appreciate. Jamie knows what's up. Don't forget to smash, and trash that like button. Subscribe to the channel and join the Death Squad. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. Redskins had some good seasons with RG3 and Kirk Cousins. They sure did. If we can protect Jaden Daniels, I think we can have some good seasons to come, but that is left yet to be seen. I don't really like the idea of having a defensive coordinator as a head coach. The way that I feel is that, like your team does, Brendan, you get a guy that's an offensive mind as your head coach. And then when your offense pops off, you don't have to worry about losing your coordinator because your coordinator is your head coach. So that's kind of the way I feel. And I also think that defensive head coaches just don't really get it in the NFL. Like Belichick's the only one that I can think of. And granted, he's the best coach ever. He has the most championships and the most success in the time that he was working as a head coach. But 99% of defensive head coaches just don't really do anything. Even somebody like Pete Carroll that had a great defense, like they won 1 Super Bowl and they could have won 2, but guess what? Shitty play calling cost him the 2nd Super Bowl. So yeah, I don't know. Dan Quinn, I'm always hopeful as a Redskins fan because it's like it's been shit since 1991. So I might as well be hopeful. I agree with that. I would be throwing a bunch of interceptions too if I was getting sacked half the time I dropped back. So I feel bad for Sam, and I hope he gets an opportunity there in Seattle or somewhere else. But yeah, I do think that Sam Howell is better than what he was able to show there in Washington for sure, and certainly feel for him. I also really like Taylor Heineke. I thought Taylor should have gotten the starting job a long time. Like when Carson was struggling, they should have just given it to Taylor. I thought he was great. A lot of fun to watch. Appearing with the big guns of YouTube seems to boost your stat. Well, I should hope so. And it's not the only reason why we do it. These are people whose content, I genuinely do enjoy, and I want to get in that conversation with them. And also it's kind of just to show them like what we're building over here. I've only been doing this for 13 months, but I come from like a musician background. I've done stand-up comedy before, so I feel pretty comfortable in front of the microphone and feel comfortable being myself. And hopefully I just, that grows and grows and I get more comfortable as we go. But yeah, I mean, I think bringing people on here and they can see that what we're doing here, it's not like we're serious about it, but like this ain't no joke. Like this is a legit show. This is a late night talk show, and we're here to have fun, but we're not here to waste anyone's time. So I think that's something that the big gun YouTubers can respond to. Maybe they check out an episode and they're like, all right, this isn't going to be like, so da da da. It's like this is, we're going to be shaking and moving, and you guys are popping off in the chat. The support that you guys bring every single week is amazing, and hopefully makes all of the guests feel so happy for coming on. James Leclerc says, definitely my favorite Halloween film. That is a hot take. I know that Brett from Good Real Hunting feels that way about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 as well, James. And welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel here. Everybody make James feel welcome here. We've got 52 people hanging out. This is crazy, you guys. I'm blown away. I really do appreciate everyone for hanging out. If you're new to the chat and you want to get to know me a little bit, feel free to ask me a question. I'd like to get to know you guys a bit more as well. And we want you to come back. We do this show every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, Late Night with the Davey, where we bring on a guest in the creative community, whether it's YouTube, filmmaking, the music side of show business. We just always bring on somebody that's working in the creative field, and we have a discussion with them. And then I also do like watch parties. I'm reviewing the entire Tales from the Crypt series on the channel here. I have a new episode dropping on Friday. So if you guys are digging the vibe over here, hit that subscribe, set the notification bell, and you won't miss a thing. Listen to YouTube all through my Bluetooth. Hell yeah. Well, you can check us out tomorrow. I can't wait for my art present, says Erica. It's going to be a bloody finger. Jaden Daniels sounds like a character in Varsity Blues. That's pretty funny. Fachi says Varsity Blues is fire. I've never seen the movie or the TV show. There's no hope for the Redskins. Just enjoy how well your Yankees are doing. They will most likely, well, Aaron Judge is definitely not taking roids, because if he was taking roids, he would be massive and for being 6'7", I think he's very fit and, muscular. But I don't see anything that looks unnatural to me. Aaron Judge is just the best baseball player I've ever seen in my lifetime. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, Matt, he was so awesome and gracious during the interview. And then like if you there's the people that are hanging out watching still, it's really cool to see that, those are the kinds of people that follow Cody, are the types of folks that are gonna give a schlub like me a chance after Cody leaves the room. Hey, Eli, you're just too awesome because I wouldn't be doing the Tales from the Crypt review series without you. And I can't wait to see what else you've got. I got your email the other day, and it looks like there's some very exciting items. So anxiously awaiting. Hopefully it comes before Friday because I'm going camping on Friday, and I don't want it to sit in the mail. So hopefully, by tomorrow, early evening, or maybe early in the day on Friday. Well, cross my fingers. Try being the fan of a team that went to 4 straight Super Bowls. The a dozen bad years now just can't take the final step. Oh, you're a Bills fan. Yeah, I know what that's about. Yeah. Josh Allen's just so good, but yeah, they just think that hurdle, that Kansas City Chiefs hurdle is a big one. Yeah. Watched an old ILM documentary narrated by Tom Cruise. Ironic that lifted my spirits as a VFX artist. Today's hate for CGI is a bummer. Well, I think like one thing that people don't quite understand, Tyler, is that like, it's not that CGI is bad. It's just like there should be a mix, right? It's like you use practical when you can. And then sometimes you use practical, you capture in camera what you can do, and then you enhance it with CGI later. I think sometimes when people talk crap about CGI, they're thinking like, full CGI characters that don't really look like they belong in that world. So there's good CGI and there's bad CGI. If you notice it, it's probably not a good thing. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I like a good mix. To me, I think like filmmaking, it's about doing whatever is appropriate for the effect that you want to reach, right? So I think you should capture everything you can in camera and then use the CGI as yet another tool to smooth things out, to make things look better. Even if it's just color correcting or an effect or something like that, or adding blood or, whatever. I mean, I have a brother that works in visual effects as a matte painter, and man, there's a lot that matte painters do that people don't even know they do. And like, I didn't know this, but a lot of times when you see helicopters in movies, not a real helicopter. And no one notices that. There's no one out there that's like, what's with all these CG helicopters? But I shit you not, people, like most of the time when you're seeing a helicopter in a movie, it ain't real. So boom, put that in your pipe and smoke it, everyone that hates CGI. Kyle Shannon's on the is he? Hot seat? Shanahan on the hot seat for 49ers big games. He plays it too safe and scared to make a big play. Field goal in overtime was awful calls. Well, yeah, when you're playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you just don't even want to give them a chance. It is tough, though. The Chiefs are so good. They're so good. Have a great night, Prince. Hope you have a good time singing, and we'll see you next time around. Raymond says, subscribe and join the Death Squad. Eli says, I just sent Davey ISOD part 1, if anyone knows what it is. I haven't even, I just want to be surprised. So I haven't even looked it up. And then Erica says, you will see me around more. Hell yeah. Tales from the Crypt is a classic. What? Davey, you gotta see Varsity Blues. It's friggin' awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's my thing. Whipped Cream Bikini, yeah. I like the one that's in Not Another Teen Movie. I think that's a good twist on the Whipped Cream Bikini. Eli certainly is a badass. Thank you so much, Brendan. Yeah, can't wait to see you, man. We got the whole September lined up, and I'm booking October right now. So, and then if you follow me on Insta, you'll see, you'll just get reminders. So, set a notification or follow me over there on Insta, and you'll be able to keep up on everything. And then any of you guys that are, members know that I've been sharing some, pictures and doing some posts that are for members only. We did a members only Q&A. We've been doing members only live streams of the Tales from the Crypt episodes. So those have been really fun. And just $1 a month gets you in there. So really not so bad. And actually, I'm going camping this weekend. So we're not going to have a live stream this weekend, guys. I got to, Kate and I need a little Kate and I time. And so we're going to go up north and have a little camping trip with some friends of ours. But I do want to, I think one of the things I'm going to do for the members and all that is just kind of share a little bit of that experience and have it just be for you guys. A little bit more of that behind the scenes, a little bit of the private life kind of thing. Nothing too private. Don't get too excited here. But just a little bit of what life away from the city and away from the studios like. Just want to share that with you guys and get to know you a little bit more for sure. He's thinking of Friday Night Lights. I am. I'm thinking of both of them and I'm just getting them mixed. Yeah. Crypt formative for me as well. Some of the first boobs I ever saw, Tyler. And Eli dropping the real wisdom. Everyone here is badass, Raymond. Hell yeah. That's super sweet. I figured it was a joke, Gavin. Actually prefer they allow roids anyways. Yeah, I mean, whatever. If it's going to be, I just think the steroids are just not healthy. So I think that's like why it's a good idea to not do them. And if you want dingers, you can just, bring the fences up like 10 feet. You'll have a lot more dingers. But man, even the smallest guys that play in Major League Baseball hit home runs. They're all capable. It's more about, it's more about the motion of the ocean, as they say. Boom. Damn. 84 likes. Let's fucking go. What's happening? Chris Snyder from Movie Misfits. Guys, if you are not subbed over at Movie Misfits, go give him some love. Chris is working on some really fun projects right now. He's got a whole separate channel where he talks about Saw, and he's putting together a series over there. And then he's got this really exciting Scream series of Who Killed Who that I can't wait to see hit the ground. So go give him a sub. And hopefully when he comes back with the Scream, we get some more of those live watch parties and all that really fun stuff. I love watching Chris go live, but I can certainly appreciate when somebody in the creative space wants to have a little more time for themselves in their private life and then also work on a project that's really important to them where they want to really add that production value. So, hats off to Chris for taking that step back to be able to do that. I think that's one of the toughest things as a content creator is taking a step back, whether it's just so you can experience life or so you can work on something that you really want to be able to dedicate that time to. So go give him some love if you're not subbed already. Those helicopters in Apocalypse Now were definitely real. Now, well, yeah, they didn't have CG back then. I'm just saying when you see a modern movie that has a helicopter, a lot of times not real. Boom, we are still alive. Yes, Garrett. Yeah, we had Cody Leach in here earlier. And man, the folks that came for Cody, Garrett, they're hanging out. And so I ain't going nowhere. I can't let this crowd go. Are you kidding me? 40 people in the chat. We just had 50 a few minutes ago. And man, and now you're here and Chris is here and Fachi stopped in. Like, you know what this is like when the audience is giving you that energy, you just got to give it back. And so I'm here for you guys. I do have some editing to get get my Tales from the Crypt episode ready, but you guys are fueling me to the finish line and I love it. Medley Man wants me to watch the Terrifier 3 trailer. Okay. Raymond says, here's a question, Davey. If Rob had done a third Halloween movie with Scott and Malcolm, do you think it would be good? I think if he had gone with Laurie being the killer, then it could have been interesting, but it would have been, that's a tough one. I think he made the right move by not coming back. I'll say that. Because I really like where he left things. And I think it would have drove him crazy for reals to try to do, the third one. Varsity Blues is such a fun watch, says Pilaf Ross. The Replacements is still my favorite football film. Wild to believe Gene Hackman is still alive and chugging. Legendary actor. I love Gene Hackman. So good. The Royal Tenenbaums is like one of my favorite comedies, and he's so good in that. I mean, he's so good in so much. It's not just that movie, but that's one that really sticks out for me. I really liked his Lex Luthor too. So had a fun time watching him in those Superman movies. And I think, man, my favorite football film, what is it? I don't know. Not little is maybe Little Giants, Water Boys kind of fun. I guess it's been a while. I haven't seen many new football films though. Chris says, I'm glad he's still live because I'm just now able to pop in. How did Camp Rad Pack go? Oh, yeah. I totally missed out on Camp Rad Pack. I'm going to have to check it out on the replay because it's just been go, go, go with work and then prepping for the show and trying to make sure I eat some dinner before jumping in here because now we're going into hour 3. So, it's a marathon. Brendan says Nightmare on Elm Street 1 through 3 and New Nightmare are the only good movies in the franchise. I really like part 4, Brendan. I will say that. I did a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise ranking. We did a live like tier ranking one on a stream, but I did like a pre-recorded live or pre-recorded ranking that you can find in the video section. And I rewatched all the movies before I did it, and I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed The Dream Master. I thought it had so much like I love Alice as a final girl. I really like the montage where she gets ready to fight Freddy. I just thought the movie was so fun. So like I don't know, it climbed up. It climbed up in my rankings. I think it was my number 4 in the whole franchise. A lot of half-baked CGI out there because studios and filmmakers got in the habit of abusing the use and not treating it like the art it is. Yeah, and they're trying to save money. So, because practical effects are more expensive usually. So, if you're trying to save money, then you may not go for the effects houses that are doing the best work at the same time, right? Watch out for Jason. Yeah, I do have to watch out for Jason. In fact, I'll probably just bring my Jason mask. So, if he shows up, I can put one on and maybe it'll be like Son los mismos and he won't hurt me. Yeah. You know, I watch UFC sometimes with my brother. My oldest brother, Matt, is really into UFC. So I'll watch it with him. But for sports, I'm a football, baseball, hockey kind of guy. Basketball's fine. Soccer's fine. They don't really do much for me. Football, baseball, hockey. That's where it's at for me. I like boxing. Boxing is fun too. And when I was a kid, I watched like WWF. Like when it was called WWF, that's when I was watching it. Yes, Saw rules. And yes, that's a pun. Very punny. Boom, Garrett. What's up, all you rad peeps? Guys, Born to Be Rad. I know you're subbed over there. Come on. Do I have to do the commercial for Born to Be Rad? I will do the commercial for Born to Be Rad. Garrett was a guest on the show a few weeks ago, and he is just one of the most positive people out there on the internet. It's a really difficult thing to find these days. His content's really great. He's always, there's like movies that I sort of like, maybe I don't forget about him, but I haven't thought about him in a while. Garrett, I think that's one of my favorite things about your channel, man, is, you shared that thing about Little Monsters. It's one of those movies like maybe every 5 to 7 years, I think about Little Monsters, and it's celebrating 35 years today. So Little Monsters and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 have a birthday that they're sharing. I really love that movie. And it's just one of the fun things about following you on socials and watching your channel is just being reminded of those things from the past that, just sort of slip away or you lose sight of. And then you remember like, oh yeah, that was like, I have a memory of watching that with my best friend from 2nd grade. And that's the case with me and Little Monsters. I really do have a memory of watching that with my best friend in 2nd grade. And, really, man, Daniel Stern is just a mean dad in that movie. He's just so like, he just doesn't want to hear about any of his kids' shit. But yeah, guys, if you don't sub over at Born to Be Rad's channel, go check him out. He's rapidly approaching. He's rapidly approaching the 10K mark. So go give him some love if you haven't subbed yet. If you like physical content, if you like 80s and 90s nostalgia, heck, if you just want a channel in your feed that every time you pop in, you're going to have some positivity, go check out Born to Be Rad, throw him a sub. You will not regret it. Boom. And he's got some, Jamie's saying the t-shirts you had on tonight were awesome. And he's got them in the shop now. So yeah, guys, check him out. People would have been out in the streets setting themselves on fire if Rob Zombie made Scout the Killer. That's funny. I can imagine that. I can totally picture that. People are like, I even and like I unfollowed this Scream Corridor on Twitter because I'm like, it's all about like this person posts a lot about Scream, and it was like the last 10 posts were about like how shitty Halloween Ends was. And I'm just like, all right, see ya. Like, first off, you're just a negative Nancy. Second off, you're called Scream Corridor, and all you're talking about is how much you hate Halloween Ends. So, like, do you have some weird insecurity? Like, do you have like a big crush on Rowan Campbell that you just can't admit yet? And so you're gonna like say that you hate the movie. I guess I don't understand like why have a crusade against a movie. I don't get it. I think the best way, if you don't like something, especially on the internet, if you don't like something, don't talk about it. That's the way to kill it. Like, I don't like The Last Jedi. I think it's a beautiful looking film. It's well shot. All the technical stuff is there. I just think the story is nothing. There's like no story. But I'm not going to sit here and like talk about it. Like, what I just told you guys is about as much as I'm going to talk about it. It's just like, why would I want to give it any more life? You know? Crimson Tide is Raymond's favorite Gene Hackman movie. That's a great one. I have not seen Dolly Dearest. Nope, I've seen Mommy Dearest. Star Court Food Court. Boom, just subbed. Welcome to the chat. Everybody make Star Court Food Court feel welcome here in the chat. Thank you so much for checking us out. Jamie says this may seem weird, but I'm a huge fan of football movies. There's something about football, you know, it's like the mixture of brain and brawn. And it's probably the most difficult team sport because there's 11 guys on each side. And if one guy doesn't do his job, the whole thing can blow up. Like, if one guy F's up, falls down, misses his assignment, it's either a touchdown or the worst thing that ever happened. You know, it's like on either side of the ball, it's so critical. So it's such, I mean, it really is. It's about holding people accountable, and it's about achieving the best you can as a team. It's about being as good as you can be individually so that the team can rise above and accomplish great things. So I can understand why you enjoy football movies because they all have that element. Fantastic in Hoosiers. Pilaf Ross brings up a great point. Yes, absolutely. Fantastic in Hoosiers. Heartbreakers, right? Which movie? Misfits. Chris, is that what it's called? Heartbreakers with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sigourney Weaver and Gene Hackman, right? That's the name of the movie. You did a watch party of that about what, 4 or 5 months ago, not long after the or right around when you did So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is another great 90s flick. Raymond says, I forgot Rad Pack had a stream tonight too. There were so many tonight. It's really cool to see the live streams pop off. When I picked Wednesday, I didn't notice that many were regular. But of course, the Rad Pack folks, you know, when they get together, you know, they all do their own thing on their own channels. So it's like, I've gotten to the point now where it's like, and I think Garrett said this when he was on the show the other week. He was sort of like, you just got to go live when you want to go live. So I like that we have a regular thing scheduled here. And people can always watch after the fact. So if you check something out on a Wednesday night, you know, maybe Thursday morning, you throw the stream some love. It actually really helps to watch the stream after the fact because YouTube sort of like the live stream like the day after. So, you know, if you miss an episode because something else speaks to you, that's totally fair. And you can always come back and check it out. And then you can always check out the little cutout interviews if you just want to get to the heart of the matter there. And yeah, Rad Pack is great. I love all those guys and what they do. And I think it's really cool to have like that kind of super group on YouTube. I think it's one of those things that like, what content creator doesn't want to be part of a group? You know, it'd be really awesome to put something like that together. So yeah, more power to him. And whoa, he says Dave needs 4 more to hit 900. If you're not sub, do it now. The Radman says, let's get him to 900 tonight. That would be amazing. You guys, that would be incredible. Holy crap. Almost there. Almost there. That's wild. And you know what's crazy, Garrett, is before I was on Drum Dums with you know, Lee and Nick from the Lost River Drive-In on Friday, I had like 847, and that was just on Friday. And so for this channel to have that kind of jump in sub count is something that's totally new for us and something that feels really cool. And you know, I want to say to everybody that's been here, you know, since day one, or you've been here even when I just had 300 subs, and for everyone that's, you know, jumping in for the very first time tonight, like I I appreciate so much that you're willing to hang out. This channel started out as a way for me to just creatively express myself. I used to play music for a lot of my life. I took a huge break from being creative when my last band fizzled out, and there was just a little bit of an emptiness there, and then when that emptiness is there and you're a creative person, it starts to turn into sadness. It starts to turn into depression and lack of confidence and doubting yourself and all that kind of stuff. So when I started this YouTube journey 13 months ago, you know, I've been a huge YouTube audience member since like 07, 08. It's been like my favorite platform for entertainment. So something I've wanted to do for a long time. I let doubt keep me from doing it. And the decision to start this channel is one of the best things I've done with my life within the last 5 years. I encourage everyone that's out there, if you're an audience member and you feel like you've got something to say, you think you've got a unique vision or a unique voice, and you know, you really look up to the people that are out there doing YouTube, like just do it. Start it. This community is amazing. The way that people like Garrett have supported the channel, and just the way that, like, I mean, even Cody, bringing Cody on tonight, like he's at like 167,000 subs or whatever. But the guy never, no weirdness, no big time, just like, yeah, let's book it. This is when I'm available. It's just like very supportive and really sweet, authentic, genuine. And yeah, really appreciate every single person. And you know what? Everyone that's in on that first 1,000, like, you guys are going to be the most special group. I mean, the first 500 are really special, of course. That first 1,000, like, that's going to be a really special group that, like, man, hopefully years down the road, we're looking back and we're being like, man, remember when Late Night with the Davey just started? And I can't wait, man. We're at episode 16 now. We'll be at episode 20 by the end of September when Mel from My Killer Podcast comes on. And that'll be a fun little, you know, milestone to hit. Boom. 105 subs to 1,000. Hell yeah. The Camp Rad Pack show went well. Awesome, man. Yeah, I've got to check it out. I'll probably listen while I'm doing some editing later tonight. I really love Salute Your Shorts. Massive fan of that television show. I absolutely adore it. Had a lot of fun watching that. Alice is a fantastic final girl. Absolutely, Jamie. 100%. Yeah, that montage scene when she puts on all the charms. Yeah, that's my shit right there. Big comeback in 2025, says Chris over at Movie Misfits. I'm excited. Just got to get these done and finished first. I'm going to keep on talking about it. And when it's ready to go, I'm going to be sharing the shit out of that, Chris. I want to see so many great things for you, man, because I really enjoy what you're doing. Got tickets for Ravens versus Cowboys next month. Ooh, you a big Cowboys fan. All right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that all goes with them. Yeah, you know, they're struggling with that playoff hump for sure. Having a tough time getting over that. Look at that. Jamie's excited for Chris's Saw stuff as well. It's her favorite franchise of all time. I need to catch up on that franchise because I've only seen like the first 3. Love football and baseball. Don't care for soccer, says Raymond. I think soccer's fun in person. It's more fun, anyways. Of course, Garrett. Absolutely, man. You've been so sweet. I gotta give that love for sure. Star Court Food Court says favorite horror movie of the decade so far. Well, gosh, it's tough because there's so many different styles of horror. I think the most impressive horror movie I've seen this decade is When Evil Lurks. And as far as like favorite, like the most fun one I've seen this decade, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Thanksgiving. Love Thanksgiving. I really, really dig Late Night with the Devil as well, as you can kind of tell since I stole the name there. I know a lot of people are kind of lukewarm. They're like, oh, it didn't really scare me. To me, what gets me with Late Night with the Devil is how immersive it was. I really felt like I was transported somewhere else. And David Dasmalchian's performance as Jack Delroy was just, man, to me, I felt like, oh, this guy is a late night talk show host. Like David Dasmalchian could do that job, which has got to be the most difficult job, right? Like what I'm doing here is like, I'm not doing a monologue. I'm not, all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine when they go out night after night, Monday through Friday, new monologue, always on. I'm just like, how do you shut off? So I felt like that was, articulated really well by David Dasmalchian, and that sort of put that movie over the top as one of my favorite horror movies of the year so far. Like that and Long Legs, I would say, are my two favorite. Oh wow, Little Monsters, says Pilaf Ross, the Howie Mandel movie. Wow, been a long time since I watched that. Yeah, I've probably watched it maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Need to jump back in and check it out again. It's been a while. It's been a while. Starcourt Food Court says, if I don't like a movie, I just kind of move on. Rather spend time thinking and talking about movies I love. Yeah. I think there's like, sometimes there's like a time and a place. Like you might have that one friend, like for me, my brother, Matt, he's one of those guys, like it's fun to talk to him about something like a movie that I really didn't like. Cause we can just sort of talk about it and leave it at that, but yeah, I totally agree with you where it's like, I'd rather lift something up than sit there and be like, why wasn't this movie the way I wanted? It's like, well, if Star Wars doesn't want me as a fan, Star Wars doesn't want me as a fan. They've made that very clear. Would it be Laurie in a mental institution, though? I wonder what 3 would be. That's the tough thing. I think it'd be really difficult to do a part 3. I'm glad he, stepped away from that. We are still going, Tyler. 44 people in the chat. I just can't say bye. Love Heartbreakers. There we go. Some Halloween Ends haters love talking about Halloween Ends and making it their personality. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. If you're on Twitter, it's all over the place. Brendan says Friday the 13th, 09 is my favorite of the franchise. Jason is terrifying and the story is good. Plus, Halloween's my favorite horror franchise, but Halloween 3 may be my favorite. Tie with Halloween and 2018. All right. Yeah, I think the 09 Friday the 13th is really damn good. I don't buy every little piece of physical media. I can't work it into my life, but man, that 4K of Marcus Nispel's 09, I want to get a copy of that because I really love that movie. I think that's, what he did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday 09, some of the best remake work I've seen ever, not even just in horror. Raymond's making the rounds. I am optimistic about Beetlejuice. I think it looks really fun. And I think that, man, Michael Keaton it's like jumped right back in the saddle, like no issues. It's really impressive. I'm really looking forward to it. And the original Beetlejuice is one of my wife's favorite movies of all time. So really looking forward to watching that one with her. And who knows, maybe we'll do a little review together. For all the people that are new here on the channel, my wife Kate and I do a little something called Movie Date with Davey and Kate. Sometimes we discuss a film. Sometimes we actually do a watch party and talk about it while we're watching it, hang out with everyone live in the chat. And it's really fun. We come from different backgrounds, different film fandoms, where she's brought me in on some of her stuff. I brought her kind of into that horror world. So, and then every now and then we do reviews. So if you're new to the channel, hit that sub and check out some of the vids we've got back there. Yeah, Garrett says time is important. Got to just do it when you can. Hard to avoid everyone nowadays. And yes, a lot of reruns for everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing is I feel like there's, a piece of the pie for everyone on YouTube. And for the people who are in the audience, it's like, yeah, you got to pick who you're live with for sure. And I think a lot of times people pick folks that they're live with because they get good interaction from those content creators. Like Garrett, you're really good at interacting with your audience. A lot of times it seems like you're just like, what's up, everyone? And then it's just like chit chatting with people in the chat. It's amazing. It's like, that's kind of what we got going a little bit here tonight. And yeah, I think it's really cool that even if I miss out on something, I'm always going to, hop in the shower, throw on a stream that I missed, or even when I'm sitting here at work, calling people all day, I'll put something on in the background and just pause it if someone picks up the phone. But yeah, plenty of room for everyone. And of course, carving out your own space, which is why I like doing a little bit of a different thing here with the late show kind of format. Yeah, I think Corey Cunningham's great too, Tyler. Oh, my phone is telling me to upload a short on YouTube. I haven't done that in a while. Every now and then my short will pop off, and then sometimes I'll get like 13 views, and I'm just like, is this worth my time? Chris says exactly. When I started, everyone had their days they had a scheduled, and I would try to work around it, but eventually it's too much to keep up. Yeah, exactly. And another thing, another part of that too is just to not, I would never take it personally if it's like, oh man, they're going live at the same time. It's like, well, whatever. I mean, no law says you can't. Can't take it personally. You just have to forge ahead and connect with your audience. And I mean, what can you do really? Tyler's really looking forward to Beetlejuice. One more sub from Medley Man. Glad. Oh, you're too sweet, Chris. He says, we're all glad you started doing this. You're one of the most awesome and most genuine guys I've met on this space. That's really sweet, man. Thank you so much for saying that. It feels like maybe I should have been doing this earlier in my life, but it's one of those things where maybe if I tried it earlier, it wouldn't have been the right time. So I can't think about what I can't change in the past. What I can do is just be myself with you guys, cultivate what we have here, and keep building this thing. I think that we are on the verge of like really kind of taking it up a notch, going to the next level, and doing something really special. And I think there's a whole bunch of channels, Chris, yourself, Garrett, there's what Fachi is doing. There's even content creators that I'm just learning about, like, even Killjoy Jake. I just stumbled upon his channel like a month ago. And then Nick from the Lost River Drive-In, just found out about him in like April, and he's been doing it for a while. And I watch horror content all the time, but sometimes YouTube doesn't share everything with you. So I think that there's, a group of all these folks that are doing, not a similar kind of thing, but we're all just really supportive of one another. And I think that everyone individually is finding success. And I think like as a group, it's the old phrase that my buddy Cecil from the Horror Show channel says, and I'm not saying that he created the phrase, I've heard it before, but a rising tide raises all ships, right? So what's good for one creator is good for another. And I think that being supportive of one another, not being like sour grapes about it, wanting to see each other succeed is going to open doors and opportunities for everyone else. Boom. Giving a little heck yeah to looking forward to Beetlejuice. I cried knowing Oasis is now healed. Bygones be bygones, they said. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they make some new material. I'll be interested to hear what they sound like now. Oh, Mark from Tales from the Shelf is here. What's happening, Mark? Says, I'm really glad I got to meet you and become friends, Davey. You're a super cool dude, and I always have a great time talking movies with you. Thank you so much, Mark. Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, Mark was on the show about a month ago, and then we just did an Alien versus Aliens live stream where we picked categories. We each picked a winner for each category. I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but if you head on over to the live tab on the channel, you can check that out. That was really fun. We let the audience get involved. We had a great time just chatting about those first two Alien movies that are, I mean, both great and just different kinds of masterpieces. And yeah, maybe Mark and I have got something cooked up in the future. I think that's a good format, doing a little like two movies you really like and then doing a versus, so there's really no like loser, but picking one that is like the ultimate champion between the two. Really appreciate that, Mark. I'm glad I got to meet you too, man. Mark reached out to me. I was kind of in a pinch. I had a guest fall through, and Mark he had reached out to me on Insta, and he was like, hey, I saw that you do this late night show. If you're ever looking for a guest, like feel free to reach out. And I was like, well, shit. Checked out his channel, and I was like, all right, I like this. And I was like, hey, can you be on the show in like 2 days? I don't even know if it was 2 days or maybe the next day, Mark. But it worked out, and it was a really fun chat. We talked for like 2.5 hours. and then had you come back on the stream, and it was a blast, man. Yeah, I feel like we've got, you know, a really good vibe going. You can tell when you click with somebody for sure. Chris says Beetlejuice is his most anticipated of the year. Been waiting for it ever since he was a kid. It's wild to know that it's finally here, and it's great that it's Burton and Keaton, right? I mean, so many things could have gone wrong with the pre-production and being in development hell and everything, because they've been talking about it for like decades now. Let's see here. Hell yeah, Star Court Food Court. Hop on in, check them out. We have a whole bunch of watch parties. If you're a fan of, like, my wife and I did the whole Jaws series. I've been watching, I just did Friday the 13th part 2, which is one of my favorites in the, you know, in the whole entire franchise there. So whole bunch of content to check out for sure. Friday the 13th ranking, Nightmare on Elm Street ranking, Scream ranking. Yeah, all over the place. Oh, well, there you go. You're a Ravens fan? I dig that. When Evil Lurks was great, but Thanksgiving is a blasty blast. Yeah, really fun. Really fun. Oh, Broncos and Colts. Okay. So you're just going to go. That'll be fun. We're going to catch the Kate's a Lions fan. She grew up in Detroit, and the Lions are going to be here playing the Cardinals on her birthday. So we're going to go check that game out. That'll be really fun. Raymond says, talk to me in Late Night with the Devil or top choices for me. Hell yeah. Late Night was good, but I was a bit underwhelmed. Still really liked it though. I think a lot of people who saw Late Night in the theater had a bit of a better experience than folks who caught it on streaming for sure. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm getting that giant Late Night with the Devil box. So really looking forward to that. Have a great night, Jamie. Thank you so much for hanging out. And of course, she says, don't forget to slash, smash, and trash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join the Death Squad. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. And I guess that's probably a good time for me to sort of wrap things up here. I would say Keanu, just because River had such a short career, unfortunately. Dark Court Food Court says, When Evil Lurks is a good one. My top 3 faves of the decade are Talk to Me, Thanksgiving, and Totally Killer. Nice. If Romulus is counted as horror, it's up there too. Okay. Let's see what we got here. First horror movie that I can recall, mine was Friday the Part 4 on VHS. If Jaws counts, then Jaws was my first horror movie. If Jaws doesn't count, then it's probably the first Child's Play. I watched it in like 1990, 89 or 90 when I watched it. I'll go Spawn. Aaron says, I actually feel bad because I can't sub or watch all the YouTube that I'd like to. I'm pretty dedicated, so I'm afraid of subbing more channels and having no life. Yeah, sometimes I do the YouTube premium, Aaron, so I can turn off the screen and just like put an earbud in and listen while I do stuff. It makes it a little bit easier, but I totally get what you're saying. I mean, you got to live your life, dude. You have to. Raymond says OG Nightmare was his first horror movie. Started in late, but it's been a wild roller coaster ride of a really bad to great movies. Love this whole community to talk about it with. Hell yeah. All right, we got our guy Devontae that I've seen jump in Dave McCrae's. Yeah, thank you, Jamie. I see Devontae and Dave McCrae's chats all the time where it's just like the most random funny stuff that I just trolls or trolls. What's an encore in a concert mean, Davey? Enlighten me. It's when you leave the stage and then you come back and you play, 2 or 3 songs. Have a great night, Eli. All right, let's see here. Looks like we're kind of caught up. Yeah. What T. Parker says is true. YouTube Premium is greater than literally every streaming service. You get the YouTube Music with it, so you can get rid of your Spotify. Pretty much the same thing, Yeah. Pilaf Ross says, great to see some new faces and cool channel so far, Davey. Really appreciate that. And yeah, check out some of what we got, and you may even like the channel more after you dive into some of our previous lives or check out some of our pre-recorded videos. I've got a new Tales from the Crypt review episode dropping on Friday. I'm doing one of those every other week, and then I'm following them up with a live watch party of the episode, because all those Tales from the Crypt episodes are available here on YouTube. So we do a live watch party. That's for members only, Pilaf, but for 99 cents a month, you can become a member. And then usually like a week or two later, I make them available for everybody. But if you want to be in on the live chat, just be 99 cents. Let's see here. Hell yeah, man. Have a great night editing, Chris. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'm really pumped for the Thanksgiving 4K Steelbook. If it has special features, I'll get it, because the one that I have, I just got the regular Blu-ray. It's got a bunch of special features. So if it's worth buying the Steelbook, we'll see. But I do really love the movie, T. Parker. Aaron says, Davey, I love how you turn your head as further emphasis when you say will continue being Davey Deathray. Yeah, I just figured you got to have some sort of sign off, right? So I was like, well, I'm going to say hello in the same way every time, and I'm going to say goodbye the same way every time, just to sort of have that familiarity and that sort of format there. Yeah, fun stuff, man. I appreciate that you dig that. Just a little quirky part of my personality, I suppose. Oh, Chris has got thousands of songs in his Spotify playlist dedicated too much time. Yeah. See, I didn't do any of that with Spotify. I just like listen to albums. I'm an album guy, not so much like a playlist guy. So yeah. Saw Leonard Skinner and the crowd had to shout for them to play Freebird in the encore. So it's even they're getting the Freebird thing. Thanksgiving too. Hell yeah. Party on, Chris. And yeah, guys, I think this is a good time to wrap it up here. We've been going for just over 3 hours. Woof! What a marathon. We still have 34 people watching the stream. That's amazing. You guys are awesome. I want to thank all of my patrons, the channel members here at the Davey Deathray channel. You guys are amazing. We just unlocked membership, gosh, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And we have like 36 members, and people keep on gifting more memberships, which is awesome. It's inspiring. You guys fuel everything that we do here at the channel, the live streams, the pre-recorded videos. It's because of you guys. And you guys, man, I love you so much for hanging out. I can't thank you enough. And for everyone that is tuning in for the very first time, I would imagine Cody brought you on over here. And thank you so much for giving it a shot. I do want to thank our guest, Cody Leach, one more time. Links in the description below for his socials and his YouTube channel, just in case you're one of the very few people on YouTube that doesn't already sub over there. But yeah, guys, thank you so much to all the regulars, to all the people who are brand new. We're here every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern with a brand new guest, and we're going to keep this thing going, and we're going to shoot for the stars and grow this community. Here at the Davey Deathray channel, we're about lifting each other up, supporting one another, being positive, celebrating the things that we have in common, and the things that we don't have in common, we sort of leave those at the door, when we come in. So this is about talking about movies, nostalgia, music, whatever. Checking in and making sure everyone's doing okay and being there for each other, and making sure that everyone has an amazing time hanging out here. So yeah, guys, really appreciate y'all so much. You guys are amazing. And until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.